emergencies. So when you're looking for a real pro, you need All Pro Towing. Save their number for when you need a tow. 701-541-3900.
Truck headquarters. Gateway Chevrolet has new Chevy trucks arriving daily. Buy your new Chevy Silverado at Invoice. Yes, Invoice pricing on new Silverados with a fresh look, new interiors, and larger screens with easy-to-use technology. Save thousands on new Chevy Silverados with 4 different motors available. Dynamic fuel management, Bluetooth, backup camera, Apple CarPlay, and more. Save thousands and enjoy the smooth ride in your new Chevy Silverado from Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
K2WB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
The NFL has utilized flex scheduling for the first time this season. Week 11's new Sunday night game will feature the Chiefs at the Chargers, and the originally scheduled Bengals-Steelers matchup will shift to the late afternoon. ESPN reports 2 concussion drug companies financially backed by Brett Favre overstated their NFL connections and the drug's effectiveness in order to raise money. Those same companies are alleged to have received more than $2 million from Mississippi welfare funds. In Major League Baseball, Guardians President of Baseball Operations Chris Antonetti has been named MLB's Executive of the Year. Cleveland had the youngest team of the postseason and the fourth lowest payroll in the majors. ESPN reports Suns forward Cameron Johnson is out 1 to 2 months after having surgery on his right knee, and former FIFA President Sepp Blatter said Qatar being awarded this year's World Cup was a bad choice and a mistake. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Think Proseed. Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
The Insiders.
Andy Rickoff and Bison great Kyle Emanuel.
It's been a little while since I heard that open to the show. Fun to be in with you. Andy Rickoff back in the chair. Big thank you to lead off the show to Chris Hansen. Appreciate you, Chris. Filling in yesterday. I listened to a part of the show. I did not call in like Rob Hipp did. Decided just to let you guys do your thing yesterday, Chris Hansen and Kyle Emanuel. But happy to be back inside the Therrelton Ethanol Broadcast Center for a Tuesday edition of The Insiders, alongside, of course, Kyle Emanuel. We're just rolling the clock back to August, Kyle.
I know. I'm happy to be here. I thought it was fun with Chris. Don't get me wrong. It was awesome. I think he did a great job. He's been in radio forever. He only called it Bob 95 once. So, we were doing pretty good there. But we're happy to have you back. I think, Andy, to start the show, I know it's your show and I'm just here. I'm just filling in, but you have to fill us in on your travel whatever you want, shenanigans, everything that happened with women's basketball last night. Obviously, the win.
I was going to say, we got to start everything off with a win, right?
Start off with a positive, little sandwich theory there, start off with a positive for sure before we get to the negative. But fill in our listeners, because it sounded like, I'm surprised you're here, to be honest.
I'm happy to be here. I'm a little surprised I'm here, too. But, excited for the show. First off, like you said, Bison women get a win last night. A great win against a really talented Montana team. Was picked to finish second in the Big Sky. They win 65-63 on the road in Missoula. Oddly enough, it's the same exact score the two teams played to last year, 65-63. But last year, Montana got the win, 65-63 on a buzzer beater. This year, NDSU gets the win, 65-63, by getting the last-second stop on defense.
Nice little tidbit there from
the
voice.
The voice.
That's something
of
the
NDSU
voice
women's
needs to
basketball.
know.
Yes. So a nice nugget for you to lead off the show. So it's great for them. Congratulations to Jory Collins and company. Really good game against a good team. That's a strong start to their season, because now the next 2 games, not taking anything for granted, but they're Mayville State and Valley City State. You should win those 2 games. Chance to get to 3-0 early on. The Gophers coming to town on the 17th, taking on Minnesota. Really good, fun start to the season. Got a lot of good positive energy going forward, and they played a really good game. But, like you said, Jeff Colhane always would make fun of his travel. Always bring it up, and I'm not complaining because overall, again, I get to travel with the team. It's a good trip. It's a fun trip. You get to be around a really fun group of young women and a great coaching staff. So it was a good trip overall. We had a lot of fun. We did some good stuff there. But Jeff would always talk about the travel nightmares of Jamestown International or wherever you're flying into and then driving and bussing. And I was like, yeah, there's probably a couple bad trips, but maybe it's one or two bad ones the whole season. You're overall pretty fine. Very first trip, we have a bit of a disaster on our hands, unfortunately. And Mac, the director of ops for women's basketball, does a great job, lined everything up perfectly. She's phenomenal at her job. Got us to exactly where we needed to be. We were chartering in and out. It was great. Thank you to Matt Larson and everyone for helping women's basketball get that charter for this first trip. I know it was a fun experience for the girls. And when you charter, you're supposed to kind of avoid some of the other issues, right? Of flights getting canceled and everything. It's just your plane. You're in and out. Well, unfortunately, in Missoula, they were getting some snow. Had a blizzard on Saturday for the Montana football game they won. There was no snow on the ground really when we got there, but they did get 1 inch to 2 inches while we were there, and it was pretty chilly, so they have to use de-icer. Not a big problem. It's Montana. They got plenty of that on hand. They know what they're doing. We're going to de-ice the plane. We're going to be fine and get ourselves out of there right after the game. Got right to the airport on the plane. We're supposed to arrive to Fargo right around midnight. Not a big issue. And some of the de-icing fluid got into one of the engines, apparently, and heated up the engine. They tried to start it. One of the engines would not start. So they cool it down, they flush the system, they do everything else. They try to start it up one more time. Wouldn't start at that point. FAA regulations say flight or plane is inoperable, cannot be used for flight. And unfortunately, the charter company you're flying with is based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So they're going to get you another plane. The only way to get one is to come from Milwaukee. They fly from Milwaukee to Missoula to fly us to Fargo. Sat in the airport lobby for about 5.5 hours trying to get a little bit of shut-eye before we got on the plane.
I was thinking
arrived here about 8:20.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when you told me before the show. Like, I'm surprised they had a pilot ready to go at that point in the night. I'm surprised they weren't just like, hey, sorry.
Someone's on call.
Yeah, exactly. Do they have a pilot on call? Do they have a crew on call just ready to rock it? Because this had to have been, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at this point? Because the game was at 7?
It was at 7. It was probably about 10:30, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no, it was definitely after 11. I remember that because I was kind of calling some people and guests and lining things up, and it was about 11 our time, which would have been midnight Central, I guess.
So you're rocking 2 hours of sleep-ish?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. In and out. I'm not good at sleeping on planes. Are you ever good at sleeping on planes?
It just depends. Yeah. If I have room when I'm 6'3", 245 pounds, there's not usually many planes where I feel comfortable in. I can sleep on planes. It's always disrupted. It's in and out. Mm-hmm. It's not that great. Deep sleep, uninterrupted type stuff. That's
kind of what I'm rocking after, which is fine. Again, good trip. It would have been bad if you lose the game and then you have all those issues. Right. Won the game. You're still happy. Still overall positive trip. At least I get to come here and do a fun radio show and talk to you and interact. The girls, they got to go to class and listen to a teacher or a lecture for a couple hours.
You might just want to skip that one.
Yeah,
I'd ask a friend for the notes.
I'd rather have this end of that bargain than what they were doing. But good win for them. Congratulations, Jory Collins, that women's basketball team. They're going to be special, folks. Make sure you get out there and support them. They do have their home opener on Thursday against Mayville State. That is also a 5 o'clock tip inside the Shack. So a little bit earlier, 5 o'clock, Shack for NDSU women's basketball against Mayville. They've got some talented players, of course, and some up-and-comers that are going to be very, very special. I know we got a couple of highlights we will play. Let's just play them right now. You know what's the opening segment? We'll make this a Buy Some Basketball segment. On the show today, by the way, we do have the Missouri Valley Mix coming up for about 11:25, 11:30. Brian Sean will stop by for a little bit of time, talk about UND football and the Valley as a whole, because there's some interesting storylines across the entire landscape of the conference. So Sean on the mix here coming up in a little bit. And then, of course, it's a Tuesday, so what do we have? We have Easton Stick. We're going to talk with Easton right at about noon. They're coming off a bye and a little bit of travel themselves. They were going cross-country off of the bye to Atlanta to take on the Falcons and walked off with a walk-off win from Cameron Dicker, the newly signed kicker. The third kicker to have a walk-off field goal for the Chargers this season, by the way.
The kicker position has been kind of in flux. Going back to when I was there.
Yes.
I'll go a quick tangent. It'll be quick. Josh Lambo was there. He gets cut. All he does is go to Jacksonville and break their field goal percentage record for a year. Young Wei Koo is the guy who took over for him. Couldn't make a kick. Cut him. Now he's at Atlanta, still kicking. Nick Novak had to come back. They've had injuries all over the place. Kicker position has been one that has not been stable, to say the least, for the Chargers.
Yeah, and they've had 3 different kickers. They've had injuries and stuff throughout the year. Dustin Hopkins was kicking. He got injured. They brought somebody else in. Then they brought Hopkins back. Hopkins got injured again, and then the other guy got injured. And they're all over the place on kickers. But we will have Easton Stick on at noon, brought to you by Red River Commodities, the Spirit Shop, and Men's Hair Company. There is the lineup for you. We want you to be involved in the show as well. 701-476-1660, the Epic Companies hotline. Call us up. That way you can talk and I can be quiet for a little bit, which is totally fine with me. And then you can also text us at that number, 701-476-1660. Or you can email the studio inbox, the Rick Electric email inbox open for you. It's studio@bison1660.com. Okay, I'll set the scene for you last night. NDSU women's basketball on the road in Missoula, Dahlberg Arena. Kind of up and down first half. Abby Draper, newcomer to the team. This is a good mix of new and old for NDSU women's basketball. Abby Draper is a transfer in from Bradley, had 12 points, including going 4 of 4 from three-point range in that game. So all of her points coming from behind the arc. 4 of 4 from 3 for Abby Draper. Had 12 points in that first half. Really kept them in it. They closed the half on a nice little run, and were down by 1 point at half. They come out of half, and Heaven Hamlin says, okay, I'm the senior player on this team. I'm the player who's kind of been there and done that. We got some younger players showing a little bit of nerves in game 1. That's understandable. I'm going to come out and just be the guy right away and make some shots and kind of calm everybody down. She hits not 1, not 2, but 3 3-pointers. Here's one of them right here.
Top of the key, guarded very tightly after 2 made threes in a row. Looking for a banky screen, gets it. Now has some space. Heaven fires. You betcha! 3 threes in the second half for Heaven Hamlin. The senior came to play on opening night.
Hit all 3 of them.
39-34 our scores.
3 threes. Her first 3 shots go in. She goes on an 11-point streak herself. NDSU goes on a 13-2 streak to start off the second half. They go up by as much as 10. Montana would fight back in the fourth quarter. They'd actually tie the game under a minute to play. Still about tied, under a couple minutes to play. Still tied, and it ends up being one of the newcomers. So you had the new already of Abby Draper, kept them in the game in the first half. The old, the steady Eddie, basically, of Heaven Hamlin, gives them the lead there in the second half, kind of as that calming presence. And then down the stretch, it's actually a really newcomer, an incoming freshman, Elle Evans, that makes the big play at the end to get them the win.
Out to Evans. Evans around his screen. Drives it on the right side of the lane. Floats one up and in. And a foul as well. Yes, a foul and 1. Have to make sure with the whistles. A foul on Montana. An and 1 opportunity for Elle Evans, the freshman, with a big-time moment in her first game.
Big-time shot there. The whistles were not going NDSU's way. Had to make sure on that one. They were outshot at the free throw line. 25 free throws for Montana, 8 for NDSU. A bit of a discrepancy. Had to make sure on the foul call there. But Elle Evans, the and 1 opportunity, gives them the lead, a 1-point lead. They're down by 2, makes the shot to tie it, hits the free throw to give them a 1-point lead. They'd get a stop on defense. Then Elle Evans is the one that hits one of her 2 free throws to give them a 2-point lead. And they close the thing out 65-63. Montana had a 28-footer step-back 3 straight away. Came up well short, only grazing the net, and the Bison get a 2-point win.
Can I ask a question? Listening back to that highlight, is You Betcha going to be your signature? Is that going to be the thing?
I kind of liked it.
I like it.
I don't mind it. So
I mean, it's North Dakota. You might as well just lean into it.
That was something I was tossing around. Everyone said, what's your call going to be? And you can't really just plan it. It's something you
got to feel it.
It's got to come naturally. It's got to feel good. And you can't use it all the time, right? Like, it's got to be safe for the big moments. So when Heaven Hamlin comes out and hits 3 threes in a row and is absolutely on fire, it just kind of, you betcha.
You betcha.
You betcha she hit it. Of course she did. She's Heaven Hamlin. 10th all-time on threes made. School history entering the season. She's probably going to be top 3 by the end of the season.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Yes, boom goes the dynamite.
I mean, everyone wants that one, ever since that went viral.
No, it might be. We might throw that one in there a couple more times in the rotation and see what happens. But it's a great game. That's a good win for NDSU Hoops. So 65-63 the final there. Women's basketball does get a win. We have some tickets to give away to the home opener for NDSU women's basketball against Mayville State. We'll give those away throughout the show today. Very much looking forward to seeing them back on the court here at the Shack. Their next handful of games for the next couple of weeks are going to be at home, so go catch those when you can. Bison men's basketball, I know you guys previewed this quite a bit with Chuck Barrett yesterday, voice of the Razorbacks, who was nice enough to stop by on the show. Men's basketball, I thought, held in there for the most part. They ended up losing by, I believe it's 18 points, I think is the final there, losing. But, again, it's the number 10 team in the country in Arkansas. What were they down 12 at half, Micah?
8 at half.
8 at half. Single digits at half. That's really, really good. 17 points for Grant Nelson, 17 points for Bowdoin Scunberg. I think if you're going to get that kind of offensive production from Bowdoin, that's a big-time storyline to take away from that game, for me personally.
Career high for him, too. Yep. His previous career high was 14. He got 17 last night. Bowdoin was kind of the offensive force for a while, because Grant Nelson was battling foul trouble, and Bowdoin was stepping up, making some big shots, some key shots, keeping the Bison in that arm's reach of staying in the game.
And it was 26-24 with 3 minutes left in the half. Let me see here. Andrew Morgan, I believe. Andrew Morgan had a dunk there to get him within 2 with 3 minutes. I mean, so I know it's not like Coach Richmond's going to sit there and say, yeah, we're happy about a loss.
No moral victories.
They hung in there. There's no moral victories, but they hung in there against a really talented Arkansas team. I believe that I hear Nick Smith Jr. did not play in this game. It was a guy we also previewed yesterday as this new stud incoming freshman, and that's what Arkansas is. They have a lot of newcomers, but it's a lot of talent, and I thought this might be, obviously as a hopeful Bison fan, like this might be a game that you can get one. A talented team that hasn't really gelled yet. They struggled, to say the least, in an exhibition game against Texas. Hung in there for a while, but just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, Nick Smith, the number 3 recruit in the nation, did not play because of a minor knee injury. Will probably be fine in the next couple of weeks or so, but he did not play in that game for Arkansas. The Bison fall 76-58. 8-point game at the half. Andrew Morgan, 3 of 8 from the field, had 4 or 7 rebounds total as well to go along with 7 points, a couple of steals, a block in there. Grant Nelson, like we said, 17 points, 6 rebounds, also had a block. Battled some foul trouble. That's been a thing for Grant in his career. I thought Bowdoin Scunberg, though, that's sneaky good. There's only 1 of 4 from three-point range. The Bison were 5 of 21 from 3, 24%. It's not going to get it done, especially when you want to go on the road and beat an SEC team. You got to have one of those nights where you shoot 40-something%. You just kind of have to. But if Bowdoin Scunberg can give you in the teens, it's not going to be every game. But if he can be consistently somewhere around the low to mid to high teens, you know what you're getting from Grant Nelson. You know what you're getting from Andrew Morgan. They need some perimeter scorers. That's what they need. That's what they're going to try and find, whether it's Lance Waddles, Luke Yoder, to Javis Miller, someone from that perimeter, so that teams can't just double the post. They can't just pack it in and say, we're not going to let Grant Nelson beat us. If you get that from Bowdoin Scunberg, which in his high school career at Jamestown, he hit every shot. I remember calling games where he couldn't miss. He was a phenomenal offensive player. Had a down year offensively last year, but his defense was phenomenal. If you can get those two sides of the ball to gel, where he's playing that lockdown D, but he can also make shots and create his own shots and get you some points, that's exactly what they need. So that's a sneaky big thing, not just for that game, but for the longevity of the season for them.
Yeah, and we talked to Chuck yesterday, and I just asked him the question flat out was, how does a mid-major team come in and upset? And and the simple answer was you got to make shots. And you just mentioned it, Andy. There, Arkansas shot 49% in this game from the field overall, which is pretty good. NDSU just 34%. So like you said, they hang in a game where they don't shoot well again. So no moral victories, but there's certain things you can take away from this game. Hey, we didn't shoot our best, and we still had a chance. They were within 11 with just 8 minutes to go. Just couldn't get it done. Arkansas goes on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, only shot 65% from the free throw line too.
Right.
You got to make those, right? That's a Dave Richmond staple. You better make the free throws. Right. And to go 15 of 23, which is 65%, that's not going to get it done. Not quite enough there. But like we said, 8 points at the half. You're hanging in there, 11 points with 8 minutes to go. They do take on Kansas this next game. Kansas cleaned the floor with Omaha pretty well in their first game without Bill Self on the staff there, or at least coaching on the bench. But it doesn't get any easier with the Jayhawks. We all know that. But NDSU, you don't have to go back that far. I think it was 2018 where they were within 2 points with about 2.5 minutes to go in the game. It was a one-score, one-possession game. So they've been right there with Kansas too. They've been there in so many of these high major games. Just haven't found a way to win one for, I think it's going on 7 years now.
And Kansas's next game, just look this up. You know who they got after NDSU?
After NDSU, I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Duke.
So there you go.
Hey, it's more so football you talk about. Is this a trap game? Do you overlook a team when you got Duke lingering? Who knows?
You might, actually.
We'll see.
It's a good point. Trap game for Kansas. Here we go.
Calling it.
Going to the field house. Fog Allen, baby. By the way, Duke with John Shire on the bench. That one was weird to see, right?
I know. I saw that yesterday.
No Coach
too.
K on the
previewing
bench.
season. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. Coach K's done.
That is strange. No Coach K and no Roy Williams in the Duke-UNC rivalry. That's going to be a strange one this year. Very, very strange, to say the least. And then also, you got to wonder when Jim Boeheim's going to hang him up at Syria. That's kind of like the last of the current era.
Calipari
as well. You can definitely throw Cal in there. He's a little bit younger than the rest of them. But Jay Wright, not at Villanova. That surprise retirement at the end of last season, too. So, the old guard of coaches has definitely changed over a little bit, which is one of the storylines. And the men's side, at the very least, we also touched on this on our Case IH pregame show yesterday on the women's game, is the Summit League has turned over quite a bit. 3 new coaching staffs on the men's side, 3 new coaching staffs on the women's side. So coaching, and that means usually player turnover as well, roster turnover whenever you got that big coaching change. So some differences in the Summit League this year, and we'll see how things shake out. But Bison women on top with their first game, 65-63 over Montana. Bison men's basketball falls 76-58. Both teams in action again on Thursday. Men will be on 107.9 The Fox. The Bison shoot-around pregame show from one Micah Bindi. I believe that will be a 6 o'clock Bison shoot-around, followed by a 6:30 network pregame and 7 o'clock tip from Fog Allen with Rob Hipp on the Pioneer Seeds Bison Radio Network. And women's basketball, as we mentioned, will be at 5 o'clock, so 4:30 pregame show right here on Bison 1660 against Mayville State. Let's take a break. We'll take our first break here. We'll come back, talk about football a little bit. I know you guys talked plenty NDSU football yesterday on the show. Give my thoughts on the win over Western Illinois and where teams stand here going into the last couple of weeks of the season. You're listening to The Insiders on Bison 1660, brought to you by Proceed, home of the Right Choice and Right Stuff programs, and online at proceed.net. More coming up next.
Champions play here.
This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. He has small hands. He can't catch the ball.
You're home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Talking about your farm finances shouldn't be intimidating. This is Scott Zlondik with Cornerstone Bank. We're a locally owned and managed community bank. We know the ins and outs of ag banking, and more importantly, we know what it means to be there for our customers. Find the right person to talk to you about your finances, someone you feel comfortable with, someone you trust for the advice and direction you need. Come to Cornerstone Bank.
Cornerstone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come be a part of the JDP difference.
Homewood Suites wants you to feel at home. This upscale extended stay brand understands that being away from home can be challenging. So Homewood Suites in North Fargo has designed their amenities to make life easier for you. At Homewood, you can relax in a variety of suites with full kitchens, complimentary hot breakfast, outdoor grills, and recreational areas that make stays more familiar. When you need to be away, but you still want to feel like home, choose Homewood Suites by Hilton. Find out more and book a stay at HomewoodSuites.com.
Tired of your real estate goals getting blocked? Let Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty serve up your next big move in real estate. Todd's expertise in the Fargo-Moorhead area means he's the one to line up the perfect shot. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today at 701-371-4234 or visit him at Beyond Realty, 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
Are you tough enough to drive a yellow truck? Hoffman Trucking, a Jamestown-based trucking company, has some openings and they'd like to meet you. If you're looking for pneumatic, OTR, or crude oil hauling positions, let's talk. If you want to turn wrenches, they have mechanic positions open too. Drivers must have at least 18 months Class A driving experience. Hoffman Trucking pays weekly, offers fully paid single benefits, 401k, and more, as well as a sign-on bonus. So if you think you have what it takes to drive a yellow truck, give them a call or apply online at hoffmantrucking.com. That's HOFMANN trucking.com.
Hail to Bison, right here, your home for NDSU sports. This is Bison 1660.
Here's the high snap. Miller will hand off here, left side to Merrick Williams, finding light 10-5 spins, touchdown.
Touchdown there for T-Mac. One of our Jim Beam smooth plays of the game from NDSU's win against Western Illinois. Jim Beam's got a bourbon for every palate, whether it be the classic straight Jim Beam or that tangy new Jim Beam Orange, or maybe one of their classic cocktails, their ginger highball or a classic highball. Jim Beam's got you covered. Number one bourbon, please drink responsibly. But T-Mac, that whole stable of running backs, I know Hunter Lipke's banged up, but I think about TK Marshall, too, is really coming on here. I know he's not going to get used a ton when games are closer, but they've got so many running backs, and I feel like Tamarick and once Lipke's healthy, you can really rely on those two.
Yeah, and then there's Dominic Ganella, too. I mean, it just goes back to what you and I were talking about back in August and in July when I was doing the show with you then. There's so many running backs, so many mouths to feed, and for good reason. They're all capable. And any time in a game, I know, look, Western Illinois was not good against the run. They came in, I think, ranked 120th against the run. And given the conditions, you thought NDSU was going to be – they're going to run the ball a ton. Did you think they were going to only throw the ball 5 times? Probably not. Even in that win, and I know we had some, even Phil mentioned it, yeah, you got to throw the ball. I disagree. Why? Why?
Are you really working on it? You're in 35-mile-per-hour winds.
Exactly, and if you really want to be you might have to play on the road in the playoffs, and it might be windy. Well, you can go outside and practice for that. It's plenty windy today. It's always windy in Fargo. Yes. It seems like. There's always things to nitpick about any game, regardless. But they went down there and they did what they needed to do, and they were going against a team that you thought they should blow out. That doesn't mean it's always going to happen. We thought the same thing against Indiana State. I think this is a team on the rise. I do. I think it's similar to last year. Remember last year? We forget they were national champions, but through 7 games, they were 7-0. Made a quarterback change. Wasn't great offensively at times. They were 7-0, but you're like, is this
there was plenty of people calling and complaining, the offense isn't good enough, we're not throwing.
Is this team good enough to win it all? And all they did was get better and better and better throughout the entire, even with that loss to SDSU, still just kept getting better. It kind of has that similar feel this year. It feels like we kept asking for a complete game. Well, now we've seen it 2 weeks in a row.
Yep, 2 weeks in a row, you've seen it. Now the challenge is you got to do it against a team that's fighting for their lives in Southern Illinois, because Southern Illinois has to win out. Yep. They're going to have to win out to get into the playoffs, in my opinion, at least. I don't think they can lose one and get in with their record and resume.
Maybe if they beat NDSU and then lose the Young, because that win would obviously carry a lot of weight. But you'd have to see how the rest of the bubble shakes out. But I'm with you. I think you got to get to 7.
And it's at their place, and they're coming off a bye as well. So honestly, everything's kind of going against NDSU.
They're going to get their best shot
on the road, best team, a team that's desperate, backs against the wall, all that kind of stuff, and go try and have that complete game once again on the road and keep this thing going. That's going to be fun to see. And I was happy with the way they started the game. A 3-and-out and then a touchdown. They didn't mess around. They said, we're the better team. We're not keeping you in this game. They put them out of their misery right away, which is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, and I hope I don't sound overly positive, but it's given those conditions, given that there was probably 200 fans there at that game, you're playing a team that's 0-8. It would have been really easy to come out slow. It would have been really easy to be we just couldn't find the energy. We couldn't get motivated, blah, whatever, make a million excuses. They didn't do that, and they went out and, like I said, they took care of business, got on the plane, and got home. And that's what you need to do in that game. They got out, I think, pretty healthy from what I understand. Mission accomplished. Check the box. Move on.
Move on. Get the next opponent in there, and that's what you're supposed to do. Again, it's Western. Can't get too excited about a win against Western, but to go on the road and beat them and to do it the way you did was exactly what you're expecting.
Yep.
And I said that before the game is you don't just want to win this game. You got to win in a certain way. That's what you're expecting in this game. They did that. I'm not as worried about some of the missed tackles or the penalties as other people, because some of those missed tackles were when the game was out of hand. Yep. Some of those are backup guys.
Younger guys in the game.
Some of those guys are just – I think you and Chris touched on it. Not that you're playing differently, but you might be hunting a sack or two. You might be doing things a little bit
Take a couple
differently.
risks. Yeah, lose a little tiny, just a little bit, just a shade of focus, just a little bit down the stretch. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, so I'm not as worried about that as maybe some other people were on the post-game show or throughout the last couple of days. I think that stuff will be kind of buttoned up going into Southern Illinois. But it should be a fun game. Two really good teams. Obviously, we know what happened last time we were in Carbondale in the spring season. That's going to be fresh on the minds of many of the players on this team because they were on that team that did not have a good outing in Carbondale. So is that going to be part of the discussion, is avenging? I know we've already avenged it, right? We beat them in the play. We beat them at home, all that kind of stuff, right? But is that going to be on the mind a little bit of, okay, we got to go there and avenge it a little bit too?
I think so. I think so. Now, does it have a huge impact on this game? I don't think so. Like you said, you already beat them last year in the playoffs when it really mattered. But how can you not think about it? Just because it was the last time you went down there, and it wasn't just a loss. It was a big loss. It was a game where you, I don't want to say got dominated, but like the score was lopsided. It was, and it just doesn't happen at NDSU. So, of course, you're going to point to that game. Of course, it's going to be mentioned. But I don't think that's going to have a huge impact on this game. It's a capable team, more than a capable team in Southern Illinois, a team that is hard to figure out, a team that got blown out early on and then beat Northwestern to save their season. Then won, 4 in a row, and to get back in the playoffs. And they were a top 11 team, and now they've lost 2 in a row. But they're scary offensively. I mean, Nick Baker's a guy. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He's a shorter guy, shorter in stature, but he'll run around a little bit. He has some good receivers. Javon Williams, we all know about him.
He's been playing his 25th year of college football.
Yeah, he's 48 years old. He's been playing since I was there. I think I played against him. I might have. I'm not sure. I think I did. Just kidding. But he's obviously scary in the Wildcat and some of the things they'll do with him. So it's a very capable offense. I think without having really dived into Southern Illinois yet at this point in the week, I think NDSU is going to be able to move the ball on them. I really do. Offensively, the challenge is going to be on the defensive side of the ball and getting off the field and giving your offense short fields.
And keeping their offense off the field. That's part of the game. Best defense sometimes is a really good offense. Yep. Absolutely. Andy and Kyle in here with you on a Tuesday edition of the show here inside our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year and roughly 400 tons of livestock feed per year. You can learn more online at theraldsonethanol.com, and you can join their growing team as well and fuel your future there online at theraldsonethanol.com. We'll take a break. We'll come back. How about Bichon doing the Missouri Valley Mix when we come back here on the Insiders on a Tuesday?
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station.
You are deep in thought, which is always dangerous.
Bison 1660.
The Bison Hotline post-game show is broadcasting live this year from Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo. Come see the Bison 1660 crew live after every NDSU football game and register to win prizes including Bison 1660 t-shirts, tickets to upcoming games, and a whole lot more. Plus, take advantage of the great food and drink specials at Applebee's. Bison Hotline broadcasting live after every NDSU football game from Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo, right across from the Fargo Dome. Horns up.
Bourbon lovers are a distinctive group, embracing the differences from other spirits, all while expecting the rich variation of a good whiskey. That's why the Fistful of Bourbon folks, who have over 100 years of whiskey blending experience, are born to serve to those lovers of good bourbon, creating the masterpiece of blending 5 distinct bourbon whiskeys, sweet, balanced, and floral, with notes of cinnamon and licorice and buttery toffee. Fistful of Bourbon delivers a smooth, rich, full-fisted flavor like all top-shelf bourbon whiskey should. See it all at fistfulofbourbon.com. Please consume Fistful of Bourbon responsibly.
Dakota Refrigeration has been helping the Bison succeed behind the scenes. From their training room to their dining room, from milk to medicine, from ice to ice cream, Dakota Refrigeration has been serving Minnesota, Montana, and the Dakotas for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, Dakota Refrigeration is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical needs. Dakota Refrigeration, located in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot.
Proceed experience is the people that we're working with, the hands-on. We're not a super large company, but we're hands-on dealing with customers. I know most of these fields because of the time I've been covering this area. In many cases, I've covered with up to the 3rd generation of operators on the farm, from grandpa down to the son that's being handed over to now, and it's very, very rewarding and fulfilling to be able to do that.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Been a rather breezy day in the FM area, and it's going to stay that way tonight as well. 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts expected throughout the night. 60% chance of some precipitation, most likely going to be in rain, and a low tonight in the upper to mid-30s. This weather update brought to you by FM Truck Sales, your one-stop shop for good, clean, quality used trucks, including over-the-road, dump trucks, farm trucks, and more. FM Truck Sales in Moorhead. Check them out for good, clean trucks for any size job. Online, fmtrucksales.net.
It's our people that make us great. Hi, I'm Ron DeBoer, VP of Human Resources at Northern Plains Finishing, a division of Owen Metals Group. If you want to be a part of a growing company, then come join our team. We serve industries such as agriculture, transportation, and automotive, providing the highest degree of quality finish for any powder coating project. We have a variety of shifts to choose from. Open positions include industrial powder coat painters and material handlers. To apply, go to jobs.owenmetalsgroup.com.
2 hours of sports talk every weekday, 11 to 1.
Well. Oh, my gracious.
Now, let's get back to the Insiders.
11:34 here on the Insiders, Tuesday edition for you. Got Easton Stick coming up at noon, brought to you by Red River Commodities, Men's Hair Company, and The Spirit Shop. If you need to stock up for all your favorites for watching football, The Spirit Shop has you covered with a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits at the best prices, plus great weekly specials. Spirit Shop behind Shields Home and Hardware off 13th Avenue in Fargo. And NDSU this week heads back to Illinois to take on Southern Illinois and the Salukis. All of our coverage of NDSU versus Southern Illinois this week is brought to you by the great team at Hoffman Trucking. Are you tough enough to drive yellow? Hoffman Trucking, a Jamestown-based distribution company, has some openings, and they would like to meet you. If you're looking for local, regional, over-the-road, or oil field work, they want to talk to you. Drivers must have at least 18 months Class A driving experience. Hoffman Trucking offers fully paid single benefits, 401k, and more as well as a sign-on bonus. If you want to turn wrenches, they also have mechanic positions open for you. Give them a call today at 701-252-7220. Great career and a great company to work for. Give them a call today. That is, again, is Hoffman Trucking, spelled Hoffmann, Trucking, HoffmanTrucking.com. 1 F, 2 N's for Hoffman Trucking. Well, it is a Tuesday during the football season. That means it's time to go back and start running on the Missouri Valley Mix.
The Missouri Valley Mix.
First off, we head over to the phone lines and talk with our good friend Brian Sean today on the Mix. Nice enough to give us some time on short notice. I always appreciate that from B. Sean because he's the best in the business, and also because UND is doing really, really well, and he is the voice there for UND with Midco Sports. Brian, great to have you back on with us, sir. Appreciate the time. How are things up in Grand Forks for you?
Things were well. We're just getting out of practice, and the guys certainly know what's on the line this weekend, hosting South Dakota in the last regular season home game. So, you get the sense that North Dakota, they know what's going on, and they recognize the situation. So, should be a good one. Should be a fun atmosphere coming up on Saturday.
Really impressive win, 42-7 over Indiana State on the road last week. I think I will officially stop asking the question, Brian, of, okay, what's wrong with UND on the road? Like, what can they figure out this road? So I think people have been asking that question for a couple of years, fair or not fair. I'm going to retire it from my question repertoire for you because they've been good on the road this year for the most part. Wins at Youngstown State, win there against Indiana State. Not that the Sycamores are a great team, but that's one of those games where you feel like it's a chance to slip up, and you guys didn't slip up at all. 42-7, absolutely wiped the floor with the Sycamores.
Yeah, that was probably the most complete game for North Dakota, quite frankly, all season in all three phases. They went down the field, scored right away. Really weird conditions out there. It was just windy, and it was sideways rain for a while. And you guys know what Memorial Stadium's like at that place. It's just a unique atmosphere in general. There was maybe 1,000 people there. And, North Dakota, they came ready. They pressured. They played very aggressive on the defensive end. They forced 2 turnovers now for 2 straight weeks. I think that's been a point of emphasis. They had a couple of sacks, had a lot of different guys that got a chance to get in the game, and a lot of different ball carriers. A lot of different guys that did good things with the ball in their hands, and quite frankly, the game was over midway through the third quarter. I mean, they really put it on ice, jumping up by 3 touchdowns, and that's really the first time North Dakota has had a game like that where they've been able to take a sigh of relief going into the fourth quarter. They haven't had many like that this season. They've been in a lot of tight games. So for them to have that type of game and to do it on the road, recognizing what's on the line, they were very focused and ready to play. And now they gotta bring it on Saturday against South Dakota as well.
Brian, I will apologize as well. I actually picked Indiana State in our pregame show. For all the reasons you just mentioned, it's a weird environment. They're going on the road, so I will also retire. UND is struggling on the road. Okay, I'm done with that. But I did want to talk about this offense. If you go all the way back to Southern Illinois, and their points since then, 34, 48, 35, 49, 34, and 42. What are they doing so well offensively to put up these kind of numbers?
Well, I think the coaching staff, and I talked with them after the game against Southern Illinois, and Danny Freund, the offensive coordinator, what he told me is, we're done being bland. He goes, we need to attack. We got to call what we want to call, and we got to get after it. And I think you've seen that. They've been very aggressive in play calling. They've spread the ball around. They do a lot of different formational stuff. They're good in the screen game. Different backs do different things. And really just getting their athletes out in space. That's the biggest thing. But ultimately, guys, if it really comes down to one thing, it's the quarterback. Tommy Schuster has been really, really good over the last 5 games. Really solid. They've pass protected well, but even when things have broken down, he's been able to scramble around the pocket, keep his eyes downfield, and deliver, in critical third down plays. And when you have a quarterback that can do that and keep your offense on the field when things, go awry, that makes a big difference. And I think the other part of it, too, is they're running the football better. If you run the football, as you guys well know, it really changes the complexion of, what you can do. If you can run it effectively, it really opens up the playbook, and it puts you in so much better of a position in second and third down to run different things. And I think North Dakota's found itself in that luxury, and I think Tyler Houston's a big reason for that. They've been in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4 a lot because they've been able to run the ball and get good chunks of yardage on first down. So, that was some sure-handed receivers and really developing the receiving core with a couple of young guys coming in behind Belquist and Bog, with Jack Wright and the true freshman Caden Dennis. I think they've found guys now that they're really comfortable with, and it's starting to all come together.
Yeah, I think we kind of wondered what the running game was going to look like going all the way back to when Otis Way left the program a while back. But the running game has been good, and you mentioned Hoosman. You bring him in, UNI transfer in conference transfer. Wondered how much he had left, and clearly has quite a bit left. He's been really good, I thought, and that's given the Fighting Hawks some really good balance on offense.
Well, and that's been the big difference to me, is his ability to get in the red zone and finish off drives with touchdowns. You look at North Dakota's red zone numbers, they're one of the best red zone offenses in the nation. And when they get in there, they're not settling for field goals a lot. They're finding ways to get the ball in the end zone, and Hoosman's been a big part of that. When they get inside the 10, they give it to him, and even after first contact, he's able to fall forward 3-4 extra yards. And, there's a reason why he's leading the Valley in touchdowns. He's got 12 of them. And a lot of those have come in those tough yards, inside the 10-yard line. So he's been a huge upgrade. And quite frankly, there's no way the offense would be where they are without that guy. He's just been such a steady force, steady hand, getting tough yards. And it's really made it easier on some of the other guys on the offensive side and certainly on the passing game.
Brian, you mentioned the game this weekend against the Coyotes, South Dakota coming up to Grand Forks in the Alara Center. I think South Dakota's an interesting team. Only 2 wins on the season. They make a switch at quarterback. Aiden Bowman's the guy now. At least it seems like he's going to be. I still think they have really good running backs. Travis Tice, Shamar Lawrence. I think they're good. They're good players. I know it's early in the week, but what have you seen from the South Dakota team, and how does UND go about winning this game?
Well, I think the focus and emphasis is going to be up front. I mean, they are really preaching this week that we got to be more physical. That's the one game last year, I think, when you look back, that North Dakota really got manhandled out physical and really didn't play very well. Was, quite frankly, very flat, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And they can't let that happen this week. And I do think South Dakota's playing more confidently with Bauman. He slings it back there. He's got kind of a weird release, Kyle. I'm sure you've seen that. He throws the ball a little differently, but he's got a pretty big arm. He doesn't run it as well as Camp does, but like you mentioned, I think Tice is a huge concern. Just because even when things aren't blocked up super well, he's really, really good at breaking tackles and running through stuff. He runs very physically. And so that's going to be an emphasis, is trying to slow him down and then keep those receivers in front of him, because Elidor, he has a chance to take the top off the defense. So trying to limit explosive plays, trying to get into third and long, and then pressure the quarterback and try to make him get rattled and make him make quick decisions. I think that's going to be a big key for North Dakota. and try to get the crowd into it and get them juiced up early. I think that'll also help.
And Brian Sean here with us on the Missouri Valley Mix. Sean, I want to take a look at the Valley overall. I think UND is pretty safe at 6-3. Obviously, you need to do some work here at the end. Every team does. You need to win some games at the end to make sure and solidify everything. Where do you stand on the rest of the Valley outside of SDSU, NDSU, and UND? It looks like Southern Illinois probably has to win out to be in the playoffs. And could Youngstown State be a playoff team this year as well, Brian? Where do you think about those two teams?
Well, I think Youngstown State probably has the best chance based on the remainder of their schedule, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Do you really leave a 6-2 Valley team with 8 overall wins out of the playoffs? I mean, if you go back to 2014, there's been no Valley team that has had 7 wins or more and been left out, with the exception of Indiana State in 18. That's because they had a D2 victory. So logic would tell you that they would be in. That being said, I don't know, because the Valley doesn't quite have the number of, quality non-conference wins as it's had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So does that hurt them? Do they only get limited teams this year? Southern Illinois, I can guarantee you they're going to come up with both guns blazing this weekend. They're coming off a bye. They have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. If they can win and then win against Youngstown, then I think they're in. But if they lose this weekend, I think they're out. So who knows?
And speaking of Southern, Brian, I want to quickly ask you about them. Obviously, NDSU travels down there this week. What do you make of this Saluki team? Obviously, UND has already played them. I think they're good offensively. At times, they struggle defensively. It's a weird team to figure out, given the start that they had, and they had a good stretch there in the middle. What do you make of this Southern Illinois team?
Well, they got the skill guys to really scare you. Between Williams and Baker and the Cox brothers, I think their tight ends are capable. They got a lot of weapons out there. I think Roe Elliott, he's tougher runner than you think he is at 170 pounds. So, offensively, they can do some things to spread you out and really stress you out. And if they can run the football effectively and get that play-action game going with Baker, I mean, they're really good in the RPO game. They do a lot of things well. Defensively is where they've kind of fallen apart. And I think there's probably been some injuries. Some guys are wearing down. I think they have some skill and talent back there, a lot of transfers. And it looked like it was coming together when they beat Northwestern. And then certainly when North Dakota went in there, they were really good getting after it on the defensive end. So I think it's there. It's just been hit and miss. And Northern Iowa, probably a little lucky to hang on and win that game last week. But if you're North Dakota State, you got to be feeling like if we can establish the ground game against these guys and control the clock, limit possessions, that's obviously going to be a very, very big key. But again, Southern Illinois coming off a bye, knowing what's at stake, they know they have to have this game. So I anticipate they're going to give North Dakota State everything they got.
Brian, thank you as always. Always appreciate the time. Great to hear from you once again. And that UND team's playing extremely well. Congratulations on that. Fun on the call, and great to have you on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, huh?
Yes, we sure will. Probably be calling you again next week as well to have you on the show. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Sean, they're nice enough to give us some time on the Epic Companies Hotline on Missouri Valley Mix, brought to you each and every week by Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, the official realtor of NDSU Athletics. When it's time to be moved, Todd Cattermas is here to assist you with all your real estate needs. Call 701-371-4234 or stop by 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time. We'll take a break. Come back and wrap up hour number 1 of The Insiders on a Tuesday next.
Bison Nation, your exclusive home for North Dakota State Athletics. Bison 1660.
We all want to be part of a winning team, right? Hi, this is Marcus with Steamatic, and I am very proud of our team. Industry experts have voted Steamatic the best method of cleaning with our patented steam cleaning process, our 24-hour service, and highly trained technicians. We do it all from carpet cleaning, air duct cleaning, fire and water damage restoration, and remember, Bison fanatics choose Steamatic.
Steamatic, call 232-4707.
No matter where you work, whether it's at your kitchen table or in the office, you need to collaborate with your team. ProConnect from Consolidated Communications makes it happen. You'll never miss a call when you can answer from your desk phone, laptop, or cell phone. And you can communicate instantly using real-time messaging. Confidently connect with customers over secure video conferencing and work together to create and share documents. Get ready to connect, collaborate, and communicate brilliantly. Choose ProConnect, your team collaboration tool from Consolidated Communications.
Our road to the ring is brought to you by Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. NDSU football remained in the win column this past Saturday after running over Western Illinois 56-17. 10 different backs combined for 453 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. Kobe Johnson rushed for a 47-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage for the Bison. Tamarick Williams led the team with 120 yards on 12 carries and 2 touchdowns. TK Marshall logged 118 yards on just 6 carries and also had 2 touchdowns. Code Green had 4 interceptions in the game, including a pick 6 by Marquise Siegel. The Bison improved to 7-2 overall and 5-1 in Missouri Valley Football Conference play. The road to the ring is brought to you by Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. They have a long history and reputation for quality workmanship and rock-solid pricing. Whether diamond engagement rings, custom jewelry, or repairs, let Brenda and the team at Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry create a legacy for you and your family. The Bison remain on the road to face the Southern Illinois Salukis this Saturday with kickoff scheduled for 1 p.m.
Every fan loves an explosive play on the field when someone breaks free and takes it to the house. Take that feeling anywhere with the explosive taste of Bud Light Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the NDSU Bison. Bud Light Seltzer is always the right call for game day. The bold flavor of the hard soda variety pack and the all-new seasonal apple slices flavors will definitely score points with your team in the tailgate zone or inside the Fargo Dome. Bud Light Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the NDSU Bison. Please drink responsibly, never drink and drive.
November is Diabetic Eye Disease Awareness Month at Eyes on Broadway and Rexine Family Eye Care. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Rexine, your downtown eye doc. Did you know those with diabetes are at higher risk for eye disease? Reduce your risk by maintaining a healthy weight and diet, staying physically active, refraining from smoking, and getting your annual eye exams.
Set up an appointment with Dr. Michael Rexine or myself, Dr. Vanessa Manlove, at michaelrexine.com, with locations in both Fargo and Mayville.
I promise you will see the difference.
Missed portions of today's show? Go to Bison1660.com to listen to the podcast or find us on Facebook and Twitter at Bison1660.
Coming up here in about 10 or so minutes, our conversation with Easton Stick. Brought to you by the Spirit Shop Men's Hair Company and Red River Commodities with Sun Butter. They're the makers of Sun Butter, grown in the tri-state area and produced locally at Red River Commodities in Fargo. Sun Butter, free of the top 8 food allergens. Also delicious. They make regular Sun Butter and chocolate Sun Butter, my personal favorite right there. Red River Commodities also does great work with wildlife feed and sunflowers and Sunteen, a sunflower-based flour as well, and protein packed in there. So great work by Red River Commodities, online at redriv.com, helping bring you Easton Stick each and every week. We'll talk with him here in just about 10 minutes. Andy Reckoff, Kyle Emanuel, Mike Abindi with you on a Tuesday. By the way, Mike Reese, play-by-play voice of Southern Illinois, will join us tomorrow on the program, so talk plenty of NDSU and Southern. But what worries you in this game? Send in your thoughts for NDSU and Southern Illinois. We start to shift our focus towards the weekend in the last couple of games of the regular season with this Southern Illinois squad. Send those to us, 701-476-1660, or you can email the Rick Electric email inbox. What worries Kyle Emanuel about these Salukis?
Well, obviously we talked about offensively, so I'll go somewhere different. And I forgot about this. I mentioned this in our pregame show a couple weeks ago. I think it was when they were playing UNI, and I thought the reason they might win that game is, now I mentioned their struggles defensively. They get after the passer. And they rank, and I'm looking at the game notes, they rank number 4 in the nation in sacks per game at 3.56 and number 9 in rush defense, which is not something you might expect from a team that gave up 38 or whatever it was to Northern Iowa and has given up a lot of points throughout this year. So as Brian mentioned, it seems like they're falling apart a little bit defensively, but they still have some skill back there, and they still, if you can get after the passer. Now, obviously, not as much of a concern with NDSU because of the play action game, because of how good NDSU is up front. Don't throw the ball a ton, but when you're ranked number 9 in the country, just at 100 yards per game against the run, now there are some things there. So now you go back and have to drop back maybe a little bit more. They do get after the passer. So obviously the big thing is it's still going to be the offense. That's the thing that has to concern you. We just heard Brian talk about it. They have weapons on the outside. They have Javon Williams. Nick Baker is a very capable quarterback. He'll run around all over the place. He'll sling the ball. He's got the Cox brothers at receiver. They have good players on offense. They also can get after the passer defensively.
Yeah, they do actually have a pretty decent defense. I know some of the numbers now, they've gotten past, people passing them quite a bit. Could be a week you look, and I know 2 weeks ago we saw a lot of 5 wide.
Not a lot. A lot for NDSU.
31 pass attempts against
31
Illinois
pass
State.
attempts, and there was 5 times they went 5 wide with no running back. Which for NDSU is a lot.
Right.
Maybe some other teams it's not so much.
Well, I think that's one thing we've seen NDSU really adapt to is at times when we get in those heavy personnels in teams like Illinois State with a 3-4 front with something you don't see a ton of, and they were bringing pressure like crazy.
From every which way.
They brought every single blitz you can possibly drop on paper. They brought it, and so NDSU said, okay, we'll spread you out a little bit more. We'll throw the ball more than we do. Or we've seen this in a couple games. They'll run the ball out of 11 personnel. They'll spread you out. They'll go into the gun, and they'll still run the ball, and they've had success doing that too. So I think it's been a nice adjustment from Tyler Roll and this coaching staff of at times saying, hey, okay, you want to take away what we do. We understand. That's our bread and butter. We'll just attack you similarly, but out of different formations, out of different personnel. Get some smaller bodies on the field defensively, and we'll attack you on the ground game that way.
Nick Baker, by the way, obviously a quarterback for Southern Illinois. He's been around for a little while. I think you go back to that spring season, they were kind of between like 3 different quarterbacks. And that was because of injury for part of it. But Stone Labanowitz was in there for a little while. Still one of my favorite names of all time. Stone Labanowitz as a quarterback. That's a pretty sweet name. But Nick Baker's kind of been the guy that just lasted through everything, right? Now other guys have transferred, and he's the dude at quarterback. A guy that's also been around. Junior, he's played a lot of games. He's played against NDSU a couple times. He's kind of been there and done that. I feel like he's a quarterback who this year has really come into his own. The last couple of years, he'd have a good game or a good stretch of like a couple of weeks, and then he'd have a couple of clunkers. And it seemed like the teams kind of adjusted to him, figured him out a little bit, figured out something that maybe he wasn't comfortable seeing or doing during the game, and were able to pick him off a couple of times and he'd have a bad one. He's been pretty consistent this year. Do you get this as, coming from a defensive side that you played, Kyle, where a veteran quarterback has just seen so many pictures, pre-snap pictures, that it's hard to trick them. It's hard to kind of fool them. You can disguise your coverage as much as you want, but he kind of has an idea pre-snap of where you guys are going to be and where he needs to go with the football. Hard to get to the quarterback and hard to kind of disguise things on the back end.
Yeah, for sure he's decisive. I think he knows where he wants to go with the ball. Like you said, you're going to show a certain coverage, and he might be like, okay, this is going to be my read. I can tell you're playing cover 2 here. This is where I want to go to the ball. And then he might be really good at this point of post-snap reads. Obviously, you have your pre-snap read, but then once the ball is snapped, okay, as a quarterback, and this has got to be one of the hardest parts as a quarterback, can I see while I'm trying to catch the ball in the shotgun, can I still see how they adjusted post-snap? What's my post-snap key now? So I think he's a guy that, it's going to be tough to maybe disguise certain things or to trick him with your coverage, but it always comes down to, can you disrupt him with your pass rush? Can you drop 7 guys, rush 4, and still get disruption on him? But that also talks to a guy who's a veteran who's seen it all. As he doesn't seem to get rattled in the pocket. He'll scramble around, he'll move around, keep his eyes downfield. If he needs to run, he'll take off and take what you can give him there. So yes, there's been games where he's, like you said, he's had a couple clunkers. You feel like you can kind of get some turnovers because he is a guy that will push the ball downfield. I kind of call him a little bit of a gunslinger. Like, I think he'll take some chances downfield at times. But so far this year, he's done a good job of picking and choosing when to take those risks.
Yes, he's a good quarterback, quality guy there, and that's going to be a challenge for David Braun. Obviously, he's been around for a little while, seen a lot of pictures. Those post-snap reads, those kind of like, okay, before the snap, there was 2 high safeties, right, and now one's come down, and the other guy, it's one single high.
Sure, or you show a pressure off one side, and then you drop out of that, or there's a lot of different things and a lot of different moving parts. But quarterbacks are good, and coaches are good at giving a quarterback 1 or 2 guys to look at and say, okay, if he does this, this is probably what you're expecting. This is the kind of coverage you're going to get.
69% completion percentage on the year for Nick Baker, really good number. Only thrown 3 interceptions, has a couple of rushing touchdowns, has 16 touchdowns through the air as well, over 2,200 yards. Very good player, and he's got a bevy of wide receivers to throw it to as well, and then Javon Williams Jr. just continuing to do what he does, and Ramir Elliott. So talented offense, going to be the challenge for Code Green this week, but I think they will be up for it. That will do it for our first hour of the program here with you inside the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Call right now as well. As we take a break, we're going to go to break. Easton Stick's going to join us, but call in right now. Caller number 2. We'll go caller 2 to 701-476-1660 wins a 4-pack of tickets. 2 to NDSU women's basketball against Mayville State, and then 2 for Bison men's basketball on Sunday for the home opener for the men against Pacific. Call in now, 701-476-1660. Caller 2 gets those tickets to Bison basketball. Easton Stick starts off hour number 2 of the Insiders next.
When it's time to find a realtor, word of mouth is important, and Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty is a name Bison Nation says often. Todd has helped everyone from coaches and administrators to broadcasters and former players and their families buy homes in the FM area. So many in Bison Nation trust Todd to buy and sell their homes, and you can too. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
Need holiday cash fast? Corwin Auto will put a little extra jingle in your pocket this holiday season. Corwin Auto wants to buy your used vehicle and will offer more money than ever to buy it. Bring in your vehicle to any Corwin location and have it appraised. Get an instant offer and walk away with cash on the spot. There has never been a better time to sell your vehicle and get top dollar for it. So let Corwin Auto help stuff your stocking this season. Stop by any of the 4 Corwin Auto locations today.
On the Rocks Craft Cocktails bring natural, refreshing, bar-quality, balanced cocktails to the ready-to-drink category. Natural ingredients, no preservatives. Like the Mai Tai with Carusan Rum, the Margarita with Hornitos Tequila, an Old Fashioned with Knob Creek Bourbon, an Aviation with Larios Gin, or get spicy with a Jalapeno Pineapple Margarita with Tres Generaciones Tequila. Or maybe live it up with the Cosmopolitan with Effin' Vodka. On the Rocks Craft Cocktails. Hard to choose, easy to pour. Please drink responsibly.
What's worth seeing in your life, and what's seeing worth? This holiday season, Vance Thompson Vision invites you to give the gift of sight to someone you love. With the most experienced doctors, advanced technology, and world-class care, you can make the region's most advanced LASIK procedure this season's best stocking stuffer. To learn more about changing lives through the gift of LASIK, call 877-522-EYES or stop by Vance Thompson Vision today.
Dakota Refrigeration has been helping the Bison succeed behind the scenes, from their training room to their dining room, from milk to medicine, from ice to ice cream. Dakota Refrigeration has been serving Minnesota, Montana, and the Dakotas for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, Dakota Refrigeration is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical needs. Dakota Refrigeration, located in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot.
Truck headquarters. Gateway Chevrolet has new Chevy trucks arriving daily. Buy your new Chevy Silverado at Invoice. Yes, Invoice pricing on new Silverados with a fresh look, new interiors, and larger screens with easy-to-use technology. Save thousands on new Chevy Silverados with 4 different motors available. Dynamic fuel management, Bluetooth, backup camera, Apple CarPlay, and more. Save thousands and enjoy the smooth ride in your new Chevy Silverado from Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
The NFL has utilized flex scheduling for the first time this season. Week 11's new Sunday night game will feature the Chiefs at the Chargers, and the originally scheduled Bengals-Steelers matchup will shift to the late afternoon. ESPN reports 2 concussion drug companies financially backed by Brett Favre overstated their NFL connections and the drug's effectiveness in order to raise money. Those same companies are alleged to have received more than $2 million from Mississippi welfare funds. In Major League Baseball, Guardians president of baseball operations Chris Antonetti has been named MLB's Executive of the Year. Cleveland had the youngest team in the postseason and the fourth lowest payroll in the majors. ESPN reports Suns forward Cameron Johnson is out 1 to 2 months after having surgery on his right knee, and former FIFA president Sepp Blatter said Qatar being awarded this year's World Cup was a bad choice and a mistake. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Think Proseed. Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders. The Insiders.
Insiders.
The Insiders. Andy Rickoff and Bison great Kyle Emanuel.
Welcome back to The Insiders, a Tuesday edition of the show for you. My one-day hiatus is over. Big thanks to Chris Hansen, Kyle Emanuel as well for filling in for us yesterday. It was a lot of fun to listen to the show for a little bit, or podcast it at the very least. You can podcast our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. They're available for you there. Also on our website, bison1660.com. Well, every Tuesday, we go to the Epic Companies hotline and talk with our former Bison quarterback and current Chargers quarterback, Easton Stick. Conversations with Easton brought to you by Men's Hair Company, Red River Commodities, and The Spirit Shop. Easton, great to have you on once again. Thanks for giving us some time. Congratulations on that win over the Falcons out of the bye. Another close nail-biter win for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And they seem to, kind of always be that way. But that's all right. And coming off the bye and going and winning a game on the road against a team who was, leading the division going into it. So a big win for us, and, good to be back in the building and feeling good about things.
Yeah, go on the road to Atlanta, cross-country road trip, 20-17, the final there against the Falcons. What is travel like when you are going on those cross-country road trips from L.A. to Atlanta?
Yeah, they can be a little tough, especially when you have we played the 1 o'clock game, on the East Coast, and so that's probably the biggest thing is just getting up in the morning and getting your body going. Buses leave around 9:30, which out here it's 6 o'clock, and so sometimes you can be a little bit groggy in the morning, and so getting yourself going is probably the biggest thing. And but I think once you get to the stadium, the energy kind of picks up and you get ready to go. But that's probably the biggest thing is, the flight is what it is, and everybody's doing that, but it's probably the time change that is the toughest with those early games.
For you guys as well as off of the bye week, is there any kind of, feeling out process after the bye when you've had this whole week of practice, but before that you didn't have a game? Is that kind of a process, do you think, most years coming off of the bye to kind of get yourself back into okay, this is a game now?
I think we do a good job at practice, kind of getting over that hump. I think there is some of that early on at practice, right? Because for the most part, guys are really taking that week off and just to get healthy and get away. It's a long year, and so I think it's important to kind of step away. And so I think, you come back Monday and kind of have a bonus practice that you normally wouldn't have, and then coming back Wednesday, Thursday with your bigger practices. So I think a lot of that, you kind of knock the rust off as you go and kind of build through the week. And I think by the time we got to Sunday, man, it feels like you were just doing this. You were just in the locker room just getting ready to play. And so you kind of get into that routine and that mode. But early on in the week, certainly it takes, a day or two to kind of get back in rhythm.
Injuries are something that always kind of come in bunches, and they seem to have been coming in bunches for you guys, not just this year, but really the last couple of years, Easton. Just can't get away from the injuries, and now this year they're kind of attacking one specific position for you. That'd be the wide receiver position. Mike Williams gone for this game. Keenan Allen's been gone for the vast majority of the season so far. But how about Josh Palmer stepping up? 8 receptions, 106 in that game for you guys against Atlanta. Can you speak about his play and just that whole wide receiver group as a whole there, because they're coming up with some big plays?
Yeah, obviously lost Mike and Keenan. Jalen Guyton, who was a huge weapon for us, really, with his speed, able to stretch the field and kind of provided a unique element to our offense. And so without having those 3 guys, it looks a little bit differently, than it did on paper and what it did in training camp. And so really proud of that group for just kind of hanging tough and battling. And Josh Palmer, like you said, stepping up huge and really playing one of his better games. And I think it wasn't a surprise for any of us. I think everybody in our locker room feels like Josh can be a really special player at that position. And it was more just a matter of him, kind of being the main guy in the progression for the first time. Normally when you're designing plays, it's with the thought of getting it to Mike, getting it to Keenan, Austin, Gerald, and then, you work through the progression and the ball goes where it goes. But this was really the first time where you're designing a majority of the plays to go to Josh. And so he stepped up huge and had some big third down catches. And then obviously the big one at the end with, 32 seconds left, putting us in field goal range and giving us a chance to win the game. And so really cool and really cool for that whole room, just kind of battling, moving guys around, guys getting elevated and moving all over the place, playing different positions. So that's kind of what it's all about, and it's been fun to see.
Yeah, 8 for 106 for Palmer, and a great game for him. You mentioned you get in field goal range, you kick the game-winning field goal. Cameron Dicker kicks that one for you guys, 2 of 2 on the field goals, and a walk-off hit for him. And we've had a couple of those now for you guys, and not your every week kicker, but he's filled in really well when you guys have brought him on the team.
Yeah, well, it's been kind of crazy. I guess maybe we had, obviously, Dustin Hopkins is, our kicker coming into the season, was our kicker a year ago. He had a quad injury a few weeks back, and so going to Cleveland, we had to pick up Taylor Bertolette, was our kicker versus Cleveland. He hit all his kicks versus Cleveland. We win that game, and then Dustin, obviously, with the hamstring injury on the Monday night game, that was a little bit crazy. He gutted through it and made some winning kicks for us there, and then. Obviously he's been out since, but, Taylor unfortunately gets hurt during the week of practice, and so Thursday we bring in Cameron Dicker, and he hits all his kicks at practice, fresh off the plane, and then goes and hits the game winner for us in Atlanta, and hits another one, and is perfect on extra points. And so kind of been a crazy year. We got 3 kickers that have made game-winning kicks for us, in 5 victories. So a little bit strange and unique, but sometimes that's kind of what this league's about, is guys just getting an opportunity and making the most of it.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the weirdest stories from just a kicker unit for one team I've ever heard of. It's been a bit ridiculous. And you guys, I've kind of been on a kicker, revolving door kind of carousel for a couple of years here, it seemed like. Never really have the same guy in there, and a lot of your games come down to those kicks as well. So what's it like kind of getting to be around the specialist? Do you talk to them at all with so many of them kind of coming in and out?
No way, man. Keep them in the corner. No, I'm kidding. They're definitely a huge part of it, and it is a little bit strange. But I mean, really, every position to some extent is like that every single year. You mentioned the receiver injuries. We brought in 3 or 4 new guys at that position. That it's just part of it, and edge rusher, like Tuska shows up. Derek shows up week 4, and that's just kind of part of it. You just add guys and get them onboarded, and you keep it moving and keep rolling. And so it's definitely a part of it. And I think from like a personal side of it, it's pretty neat to get a chance to hear different stories and hear different experiences and how guys get here. And so that's the neat part of the NFL. But it is a little bit crazy, like you said. It's just been one of those things that it's certainly unique, but definitely part of this league, and it's been cool just to see whoever it's been, Dustin, Taylor, and now Cameron, whoever it is, man, just go in there and do what they do and make the most of their opportunity.
In talking with Easton Stick here, as we do every Tuesday, brought to you by The Spirit Shop, Men's Hair Company, and Red River Commodities. Next up for you guys, another primetime game. Another strange time. It's not just, can you get a couple of noon games in a row here, Easton? I mean, all these Monday, Sunday night, Thursday night things moving you guys around. The schedule's a little bit different. You got Sunday night against the San Francisco 49ers, Southern Cal against Northern Cal.
Yeah, man, exciting. They're obviously a really good team and coming off a bye, and so it'll be a tough one, and a really good challenge for us. And I don't know. Sunday Night Football is pretty fun, pretty special, so we'll take that. The quick flight up to Northern California to San Francisco and see what happens. But obviously, everybody knows about their team and all the special players they have. So we'll definitely have our hands full and be a lot of fun to play on primetime.
I could ask you about their defense, but instead I'm going to ask you about the other guy that's on that team that used to play for the team you used to play for, and that'd be Trey Lance, who clearly isn't playing. We know that, the really unfortunate injury. How much have you kept in touch with Trey, and do you think you'll still get a chance to see him and interact with him before the game?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a chance to connect. We'll definitely talk this week at some point, I'm sure, and make sure we get a chance to connect and all that stuff. And I know he's working his tail off, getting healthy and doing everything he possibly can. And so, yeah, obviously we've talked about it, unfortunate, but he's made the right stuff and we'll handle it. And so, it looks looks a little bit different than I think we anticipated when we saw the schedule come back way in the spring. I think we were both pretty excited about it, and so obviously it looks a little bit different, but still really excited to get a chance to see him.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate, and looking forward to seeing how he comes back from it stronger and better than ever, no doubt about that. 49ers defense, though, man, that's going to be a challenge for Justin Herbert. They've got some guys. Bosa's coming off the edge. Warner's a phenomenal linebacker. Got some really good secondary players as well. How do you go about trying to dissect this 49ers defense and everything they can do?
Yeah, definitely one of the better groups in the NFL, and Bosa and Warner, some of the premier players in the whole league, not just on defense. And so it'll be a tough task. They got good players everywhere. Inside, they're strong and really aggressive, and added a few guys in the secondary this offseason in free agency and the draft that are playing really well. And so it's going to be a challenge for sure, and we'll kind of dive into this thing and make sure we get ready and we're ready to go. But like you said, prime time and playing a really good team, man, that's exciting stuff, and so I know we'll be fired up to get there.
Couple of questions left here for Easton Stick. This week, the Bison on the road. They were on the road at Western Illinois last week, and now they're going to go to Southern Illinois, continue their tour of the Lincoln State. Your memories, Carbondale, Salukis, during your time?
Yeah, fun place to play, fun place to travel to. And,
it's a nice stadium.
Coach Hedberg, yeah, they've got a good facility, and like I said, it's kind of a fun place to play. Because of that reason, I think they have one of the better facilities in the Valley for a game. And so Coach Hedberg obviously coached there, before he came here, and so he had a bunch of stories, and I think he was always a little bit extra fired up to go and play those guys, and so that made it fun. And but yeah, just a fun place to go play and shoot. They've done a really good job, it seems, since I've left in the last few years of really turning that program around. And it's probably a school that should be, every single year in the mix. I think with kind of the resources and location that they're in, I think they're going to be a team in the Valley that consistently is near the top. And so that'll be definitely a tough challenge.
And they absolutely need to win to get into the playoffs. So NDSU got their hands full with the Salukis this weekend. Month of November, though. Bison with a couple of losses, one against an FCS opponent. Kind of similar, I think, a little bit to your 2017 squad with one loss in the FCS in the regular season. You get to November, and you just kind of close that thing out to try and get one of those top couple of seeds. What do you remember about this month and the playoff positioning that kind of goes through your guys' heads?
Well, yeah, I just think it's an important month, obviously. Every game is important in college football. You don't get them back, but especially November as it gets down. And I think the biggest thing is you just want to be, as a team, you want to be trending in the right direction and starting to play some of your better football and really understand what your strengths are and what you're good at, and then really start to find different ways to do those and to be in those types of plays and get on the same page. And so I think, the last two games, I think that's the biggest thing is you're really just trying to play as good as you can and put yourself in a position to see what happens. And, hopefully you're a top 8 seed and you get to take a week off and kind of regroup and then go ahead and get ready to make a run. But it really is just about focusing on yourself and, taking care of your body, because at this point everybody's beat up, and staying strong mentally and so that you're kind of trending in the right direction and playing good, clean football as you finish.
That 2017 squad definitely did that. 49-14 against USD and 20-7 against Illinois State to close out the regular season before ultimately winning another championship in Frisco against JMU 17-13. Easton, always appreciate the time. Thanks for giving us a little bit of an insight into your life as well, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Good luck this week against the 49ers.
Awesome. Thanks.
Easton Stick, nice enough to give us some time once again. Every Tuesday he does that, and they've got a big-time game, Sunday Night Football in the Bay Area against the San Francisco 49ers. That should be a fun game. Unfortunately, like we touched on there with Easton, it's a little different than we were hoping when the schedule came out with Easton and Trey Lance. Trey recovering there from that injury back in week number 2. We'll take a break, come back. A lot more to get to here. Andy and Kyle with you on a Tuesday on the Insiders.
Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
So most companies claim they have good people, good product, good customer service, but the question is how often. We go the extra mile to take care of our dealers and our growers, and more importantly, their families and their customers.
Proceed tries to bring a family-like experience. Farmers, we want to understand what their challenges are. We also want to bring products to them that help them overcome those challenges so that they can be as successful as possible.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
No one wants to think about it, but the cooler weather and cold morning starts are right around the corner. Get your vehicle ready at one of the 3 locally owned Jiffy Lubes of Fargo. Oil changes are the #1 maintenance item that's neglected. At Jiffy Lube of Fargo, it's easy. No appointment needed. Just drive up and drive in for your signature service oil change and a free charging system check to ensure your vehicle will be ready when you are. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, proudly serving the metro area for over 40 years, where you can do more in a jiffy.
Your brilliant proposal starts with Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry, your source for mined and certified lab-grown diamonds. Looking to create a custom engagement ring? Our team of jewelry experts will help you create that perfect ring, mesmerizing her, creating an heirloom to be cherished for a lifetime. Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry, 3241 42nd Street South, Fargo. Online at schmittsjewelry.com.
Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry.
Every fan loves an explosive play on the field when someone breaks free and takes it to the house. Take that feeling anywhere with the explosive taste of Bud Light Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the NDSU Bison. Bud Light Seltzer is always the right call for game day. The bold flavor of the hard soda variety pack and the all-new seasonal apple slices flavors will definitely score points with your team in the tailgate zone or inside the Fargo Dome. Bud Light Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the NDSU Bison. Please drink responsibly, never drink and drive.
Men's Hair Company is already super convenient with 5 locations in the FM area. But now, Men's Hair Company has a new app to make it even easier to get your appointment. Yes, you can actually get an appointment on their free app, not just put on a waiting list. Download the free Men's Hair Company app today. Just search for it in the App Store.
Experience the difference at Men's Hair Company. Visit one of our 5 FM locations or check us out online at menshairco.com. Men's Hair Company. Grooming for guys.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Been a rather breezy day in the FM area, and it's going to stay that way tonight as well. 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts expected throughout the night. 60% chance of some precipitation, most likely going to be in rain, and a low tonight in the upper to mid-30s. This weather update brought to you by FM Truck Sales, your one-stop shop for good, clean, quality used trucks, including over-the-road, dump trucks, farm trucks, and more. FM Truck Sales in Moorhead, check them out for good, clean trucks for any size job. Online, fmtrucksales.net.
If you need any professional advice, they may not be your guys.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
But if you need information on NDSU, then they got you covered. It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
12:21, the time here on the Insiders. Fun Tuesday show. Andy Rickoff, Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bindi. Kyle filling in for Rob Hipp, who's on the road with NDSU men's basketball. They face Kansas coming up here just a couple of days on Thursday night. And then Rob will be also driving over to Carbondale for football on Saturday. So he's got a tough road week for Mr. Rob Hipp. Rob on the road. We should do some check-ins. Rob on the road check-ins.
Rob on the road segment during this crossover season.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a good segment.
Where in the world is Rob Hipp?
Yeah, we got an update on your travel. I wonder if Rob has. I believe they bus. He told us yesterday they're busing.
They were busing today, actually. So.
Today. So hopefully no issues, but it's a crazy
Did you ever
time.
have bus issues in your time at NDSU?
No. But no, it wasn't really an issue. What was the last road game that I was at? Why can't I think of which one it was? Indiana State, I believe. We landed and we get on the bus, and the lead bus was like completely leaning. So I'm in the third bus, and you can see the front bus, and I think it was the offensive bus, and like the hydraulics or something went out, and the bus was like completely tilted.
Really?
They had to stop, and so we get to the hotel way before them. They had to stop, get a new bus. I don't know. It wasn't a huge deal. It was the day before the game. It delayed them like 45 minutes. Wasn't a huge deal.
Just move the offensive lineman to the other side.
Well, that's what everyone was telling me on the bus. They're like, they're like laughing. All the linemen must be on the side. I was like, no, guys, trust me, this is not correct. This is not what it should look like. But no, I don't think we ever had any bus issues that I can remember.
I had one in college, Upper Iowa University, D2. So we were somewhere in Iowa. Actually, no, we were in Oklahoma. We were busing to a game, and the bus, a couple of tires get popped, right? So you lose a couple of tires. Obviously, there's tons of wheels on these big sleeper buses. But got something sort of fixed. This is in the middle of nowhere where it's hard for mechanics to get there. So I kind of limped along, end up at, not Amish, but like between Amish and not Amish.
Put it right.
Something kind of like that.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines where they had some like mechanics and some technology kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Fixed
like
you up.
limped in, like I guess on the phone, that's where they said to go to. Limped into there. They fixed us up in about 25 minutes.
That's
and
right.
We just kind of
Get her
sat
done.
around. There's families all over the place, just kind of like staring at you, and it was just kind of whatever. And then fixed it up and got going.
I've been involved in. I remember going back to 2019. I flew with the team, coming back from Frisco, and again, it was the first plane, I believe, with like all the guys who played, who just won a national championship. Like they're trying to get back and celebrate in Fargo. I was on the second plane, and we get off fine. We get back to Fargo, decent time. They're playing again. Not the same thing that you had, but something similar. They had some issues with the plane. Had to get a different plane, and they got stuck in Frisco. And they had, I don't know when they got back, but I felt bad. I was like, I wish these players could get back. I'm fine being delayed. I don't want to be delayed, but if it's me, that's fine. The players had to sit on the. I don't know if they got off the plane, got a new plane, or what happened there.
Probably
but some issues, some travel issues. Always.
Didn't feel too bad in your bed that night.
I didn't.
Nope.
I felt bad, but I also didn't. It's. Sorry, guys.
Just your right spot, right time,
Yep,
right?
that's
Right
right.
bus the first time, right plane the second time. So life's easy for Kyle Emanuel.
Well,
it's really what it is.
I don't know if I'd go that far. But
By the way,
it's not bad.
Congratulations. Shout out to your Deacons. You're repping them. You can see it on the Horsch Cam.
That's right.
Horsch Forming with Passion online at Horsch.com. If you're watching our show on Facebook Live like you can each and every day, because Micah Bindy's got that stream down like a fine wine. But congratulations to Shanley Football
thank you.
on a tremendous come-from-behind win in the playoffs against Mandan. Out on the other side of the state, too. You had to go on a road for that one. You're down by a couple of scores, and you come back on them.
Yeah, and it was the exact same thing. Basically, it was like the same game 3 weeks ago. We went down to Mandan. We were down at least 14-0, maybe even 21-0 in that game. And it was like deja vu all over again. It was, it was this Groundhog Day. We get down 14-0. We get a touchdown. Then we kind of drop a pick. It bounces off one of our linebackers' shoulders. They catch it. It was kind of a crazy play. But anyway, so they go up 21-6 at half, and we're like, here we go again. I can't believe this. And our kids responded. I mean, I know Troy Madden, our head coach, got asked on TV after the game, well, what did you change? And he said, I don't know. We didn't really change anything offensive. Like, we felt like we were clicking offensively, just certain things. I think it was penalties or whatever. We just couldn't get out of our own way. Defensively, it was just giving up a play here or there. And our kids responded. They really did. We didn't really change much X's and O's wise. It's not like we had a wholesale change, but our kids definitely responded and beat a good Mandan team, a really good team. And now we get to play Century. And Century's, it's a good story. They started the season off 0-5. They've only lost one game since. They take down Cheyenne and Davies in the playoffs.
Cheyenne, the really heavy favorite.
Huge favorite. They were the one seed for a reason. They're 8-1, hadn't lost in forever. And now you set up a game where, if it's funny because if Century won, they'd be 6-6, state champions, 6-6. But again, it doesn't matter. You just got to get into the dance, and they got in. And we were saying it, midway through the season. If Century gets in, that's a scary 8 seed. They got in at 3-6, and they've done exactly what you thought they might. Not that everyone thought that they would do this, but when you're Century and given their history and everything they've done, and they weren't a bad team by any means, they just couldn't. Again, they couldn't really get out of their own way. They couldn't win games, but they were the best 0-5 team you'll ever see. And all they've done since then is lose one game. They've given up they've had a couple shutouts. They shut out Davies. They only give up 8 points to Cheyenne. They're a good team. They're coming in. They're playing well. So I'm excited though. Excited for this team. It's been fun to be a part of. To be back and be a part of a football program. And I never got to play in a state championship in high school. Now I get to coach in one in the Fargo Dome. I'm excited, but I'm more excited for these kids. They've put in a lot of hard work.
Absolutely, and congratulations again. Century's kind of like NDSU, and people feel like NDSU's down a little bit. But does anybody want NDSU on the road, coming to your place in the semifinals or anything? Absolutely not.
3 straight trips for Century.
You were telling me ahead of time that you guys, if you had won your last game against St. Mary's, but if you had lost it,
correct.
St. Mary's would have been in, and Century would have been out.
because Century got in at 3-6.
Yeah,
got in the playoffs as the 8 seed.
That's crazy. So that's the 2A11 championship.
Correct.
For the Dakota Bowl, which is happening this weekend inside the Fargo Dome. Congratulations to all of these teams. The Class B11 championship at 9 a.m. Central Cass against Velvet Drake and Moose Garrison. The Aggies, or the Squirrels and the Aggies in that one in B11. Class B 9-man championship approximately around noon will be Cavalier, the Tornadoes, against New Salem Almont, the Holsteins there. Great matchup there. I think two really strong teams again. Cavaliers kind of been there and done that a few years, but these two teams haven't really necessarily been in a championship game in a couple of seasons. And this is why I love the new format, the new way North Dakota's decided to do the format for football. Fargo North is going to be in a state title game. Yep. And when I called games in high school, it's been a couple of years, and I've tried to keep track a little bit, but North always got ran over. And not that you feel bad for the kids, but they're Fargo kids, all that kind of stuff. Some people don't feel bad for kids in the Fargo area, but you felt like they had some good teams, but they were just at a disadvantage population-wise. And I feel good that the way it's done now, all of a sudden Fargo North and Jamestown, for that matter, who also kind of got ran over some years, they're going to be in a Class 1A11 state championship game. That's pretty cool for those kids from Fargo North, and that's a high school program that didn't have a lot of success for a number of years.
Yeah, Fargo North got to play Fargo South in the state semifinals, so that was pretty cool. But you talk about population. I can't feel too bad for North because Shanley's like I was going to say it's private school, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's like about 400 kids in the high school, and we're competing against schools that have 12, 1,300, 1,500 kids. And I know there's a private school aspect to it, but that to me just makes it that much more impressive on what Troy's done. I've only been there 2 years. Again, I will take very, very little credit for any of the success that we've had. But Troy and his coaching staff that have been there for a long time, to take a team, with you got 160 boys in the school, maybe, and to go compete against the best of the best in the highest class, and chose to opt up and chose to go play at the biggest class. And
have held their weight now for a couple of years.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
It's been fun for me to be a part of coaching, and everyone. It's funny because everyone just assumes, you played in the NFL, you were a good player, like. You know how to coach. Like it's different. Things that worked for me maybe not work. Maybe that'll work for a different kid. Maybe you gotta find what works for them. What drills work for them. How do you put them in the best position? You can't play the game for them, but how can you set them up for success? So it's been a learning curve for me as well, kind of jumping into the coaching ranks.
So Fargo North against Jamestown, approximately around 2:30 for that 1A 11-man championship, and then ending it with the big one, 2A 11 championship. Right around 6:30 from the Dome, Bismarck Century Patriots and the Shanley Deacons. Chance for another ring. You just add a championship to the closet for you. It will be a lot of fun. So make sure we're watching that one a little bit closely on Saturday as the Bison, obviously, or on Friday as the Bison then have a game there with Southern Illinois. So you got a busy week of travel for you as well.
Early flight for me as well, yeah. Hopefully winning a state championship on Friday and then hopping on a 6 a.m. flight down to Carbondale.
That's what we're talking about.
We'll be ready to rock down there. So,
are you upset that last week was the Valley Game of the Week and you didn't get to go to Macomb?
I am devastated. I didn't get to go to Macomb. That's actually, that was I think second or third choice for me and my wife for honeymoon was to go to Macomb, Illinois.
Yeah. Right behind Terre Haute, I'm sure.
Terre Haute was right there. We decided to go with Hawaii. We barely won out.
Mm-hmm. Very similar landscape.
And it's not even that. It's not even so much Macomb. It's given the weather and the fact that I wouldn't have been calling the game, having to sit through that and those wins, I wasn't too disappointed that I wasn't there.
Yes.
I'm sure you were disappointed as well that you weren't there.
I was rather happy to be back here, I'll be honest with you.
I know Cole Jurek was definitely disappointed. He decided to go, watch LSU Alabama. I don't know why you would ever do that. It was a terrible game. Yeah.
Awful game. Alabama not going to be in the playoffs. Going to be kind of strange for college football.
Or probably Clemson either.
Yeah.
Now with their loss, they're not going to have a good enough resume on a one-loss team. And I'm not mad about it. I mean, I'm not one of those people that just wants to root against Alabama because people do that with NDSU. Like, they win all the time, so then they just root against them because they want to see someone different. Like, it's not that, but it is exciting to have different teams in there and get a little parity in college football. And no one's going to feel bad for Nick Saban.
No, not one bit. Kind of strange. You got Tennessee hasn't been that great for a couple of years. All of a sudden, they're top top team ranked at least last week. I know they lost then to Georgia. TCU's undefeated. Could see some different teams in the championship.
Do we have time here? Who do you think the 4 are going to be? Just put you on the spot right now.
And they announce it tonight?
Well, no, I think at the end. At the end. Who do you
Okay.
think it's going to be?
The 4 that make the playoffs. I'll go Ohio State, Georgia.
Does Tennessee get in?
Go Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee.
You think Michigan's going to get in?
I think Michigan will get it.
So no
TCU?
I think TCU is going to stumble.
Yeah, but so
somewhere.
Michigan and Ohio State play each other. So you're saying Michigan wins?
I think a loss by Michigan to Ohio State doesn't knock Michigan out.
Yeah, but Michigan has no good win in their non-conference. They played no one. They played like Colorado State, UConn, or some.
If TCU would finish unbeaten, then they would be ahead of Michigan. I would agree that. I think TCU's going to stumble somewhere.
The only way Michigan and Ohio State get in is if Michigan wins a close one, and Ohio State and TCU loses, and Ohio State's sitting there with 1 loss. I think that's the only way. If Michigan loses, they're done. There's no way. Their resume's not good enough.
I mean, Oregon could sneak in.
Oregon could sneak in there. I mean,
that'd be something if Oregon was the 4 and Georgia was the 1.
What's the SEC championship going to be right now? Is it Georgia LSU?
Georgia LSU
would be as it stands.
LSU could win that one and they'd be in.
No, they have 2 losses at least.
Yeah, but they beat Bama and Georgia.
And yeah, they're playing hot towards the end of the season.
I
so
know,
you're
but
getting a
still,
great team
they
in.
still have 2
Bama
losses.
and Georgia. Give me a team that's got better wins.
No, they wouldn't have better. No one would have better wins, but
they got USC kind of leaning
Georgia
around out there too.
Georgia beat Tennessee and Oregon, and that Oregon win just keeps looking better and better. A blowout win. I know it was week 1, but it doesn't matter.
That's true. It's fair.
It's fun.
That's why
there's
so much to break up. You know, there's so much that can happen here the last couple of weeks of the season, which is exactly what you want in college football, right? There's a lot of years where these games just don't really matter. That's not the case this year. You got a lot of teams that have a lot on the line that haven't lost enough games to be out, or maybe they have lost a game, but they're still in that conversation, which isn't always the case. And I just imagine how much better it's going to be when they expand the playoffs.
Can't wait.
It's going to be even that much better. I think they've seen like the bracket, if it were expanded this year, looks so great.
It looks so fun.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. It creates kind of why March Madness is so popular, because you can get those potential upsets. You get teams that you've never seen before, and now they have a chance to compete for national championship. And, I mean, let's be real. It's what you should have. You should have a chance. You should have to go undefeated and then still get left out. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about TCU, who's undefeated right now, saying, "Oh, if they lose, they're out of the playoffs."
Yeah,
you should have a chance if you're undefeated.
Or even
at this point.
people are saying that just TCU go undefeated and they're still not in. Mm-hmm. There was that argument. There was a
Cincinnati
scenario
last year.
Yeah, there was a scenario where that might have happened. Now that Alabama is out, because do you put in a 1-loss Alabama team if they weren't to lose? Would you put them in over TCU? Because their 1 loss would have been to Tennessee. So there's just a million different scenarios where it could have played out. Where you have if you have an undefeated Big 12 champion, I don't care what you think about the Big 12. If you have an undefeated Big 12 champion, they should be in a playoff.
Absolutely. And Cincinnati last year too. I mean, you beat Notre Dame, you do everything you got to do. I know Group of 5, whatever, undefeated, you should be in. I'm happy they were, and I will still say I know they lost by multiple scores, but they held their own against Alabama more than a lot of other teams have over the years in the playoffs. But we'll take a break. We'll come back. How about we go to the NFL side? Some interesting stuff just over the last 24 hours or so. I want to get Kyle Emanuel's thoughts on that, and some interesting news that could be affecting the game for the Vikings this weekend. Got to make sure we touch on all of that stuff when we come back here on The Insiders on a Tuesday.
North Dakota State football plays here. Bison 1660.
As the days get shorter and the temps get a little cooler, now is the time to start thinking about projects for Rick Electric in your home this fall. Hey, it's Chris Hansen. Rick Electric has been proudly providing services in the Fargo-Moorhead area since 1964. Right now's a great time to schedule your winter projects, like having a Generac whole house generator with automatic transfer switch installed, or more outlets for Christmas lights. Rick Electric, 233-6194, or go to rickelectric.com.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
Code Green is coming alive!
Bison football remains on the road this weekend to play the Southern Illinois Salukis. Our coverage starts at 7 a.m. with kickoff scheduled for 1 p.m. on Saturday. Coverage of NDSU versus Southern Illinois is brought to you by Hoffman Trucking. Are you tough enough to drive yellow? Hoffman Trucking is a premier dry bulk carrier in the Midwest region. It's tough to drive down the road and miss our signature yellow trucks. We currently have some job openings. Check us out online at hoffmantrucking.com.
It's that time of year again. Our kids are busy with activities, and we're all running in different directions. So, stop. Take a few minutes and look around your home. Seriously, look around your home. Does it feel comfy, not chaotic? And your kitchen, is it inviting, organized, and clean? If not, do what I did. I got help from Northern Stone. They understand that a new quartz or granite counter and backsplash will refresh and change the look and feel of your whole kitchen. Northern Stone, visit Main Avenue in Fargo across from the fairgrounds.
Want a job you love? Join a winning team. Twin Peaks Fargo is hiring all heart of house support positions, cooks, bussers, barbacks, and more. Twin Peaks offers many great incentives like free shift meals, flexible schedules, and pay starting at $20 an hour. Apply today. Just text PEAKS to 85,000 to get started. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
If you're looking for a towing company that has graduated to the next level, you're looking for All Pro Towing. All Pro Towing specializes in heavy duty and light duty recovery. All Pro Towing is there for lockouts and jump starts and tire changes. Plus, they're available 24/7 for all emergencies. So when you're looking for a real pro, you need All Pro Towing. Save their number for when you need a tow. 701-541-3900.
From the court to the field and everywhere in between. Your home for NDSU athletics. Bison 1660.
Got to get the ball off here. Time running down. Finally does. Pressure coming. Throw. It's intercepted, and this one could be returned to the house by Marquise Siegel as he's down across the 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! It's an interception. Return for a touchdown by Marquise Siegel.
Marquise Siegel with the pick. Big play on the defense for Code Green. First interception return for a touchdown since
2018, Jabril Cox.
Got it right, Jabril Cox.
That's
I remember
crazy.
That, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that. Well, obviously there was the Dawson Weber, the fumble. That was a blocked field goal, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it a fumble?
We've had a
straight fumble.
We've had a fumble recovery return for one, which, by the way, was tied a school record from like the 70s or 60s for longest touchdown. Defensive fumble recovery for a touchdown. We've had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. No, an interception return for a touchdown. James Kaiser picked one off earlier in the year and got down at the 1. Didn't get the end zone. But that's the first one since 2018, Jabril Cox. And a big-time play there from Marquise Siegel. He's becoming a player a little bit that corner. It's deep room. It's almost as deep as running back, I think.
It is deep.
But Marquise Siegel is starting to he was probably like 4th on the depth chart when the season started. He's starting to become maybe the top guy there and a guy you kind of throw at your own risk if you're on offense.
I know they like him, and I know I'm talking to some of the coaching staff. And look, there's a lot of guys that they like. There's loaded rooms. I mean, look at Dom Jones. We've been talking about him a lot now. He's found his way on the field. But Marquise Siegel's a guy, and he's a really good tackler. Like, he's a sneaky good tackler at the corner position. That's not usually something you bring up when you're talking about cornerback. It's all about their ability to cover the receivers, and rightfully so. That's 95% of their job. But when it comes to tackling, we talk about tackling so much with this team, like he's actually really good from that corner position. He seems like a guy, he gets his hands on you, you're going to go to the turf.
Yeah, and he picks off the ball a lot, too. Just all over on coverage. They've been really good. That's one thing about this game. We've been talking about Nick Baker a lot and a lot of good receivers for Southern, and they do have that. And NDSU's been phenomenal against the pass.
Yeah, I feel like we don't talk about that enough. We just, the run game, the tackling, the penalties, blah. Well,
pass game's been legit.
I haven't looked at it in a while, but they were leading the Valley. I don't know where they were in the country, but they're leading the Valley in yards per game when it comes to defending the pass. So, yes, NDSU's been, as much as you want to bring up some of the struggles, you got to give them credit where credit is due. They've been really good against the pass this year.
I believe going into last week, they were 3rd in the nation in passing defense.
It's like 126 yards a game or something, which is insane.
Yeah, and continuing to rack up the interceptions too, which is something that kind of comes and goes, but it's definitely coming this year.
Turnovers come in bunches.
Yeah,
that's a Gus Bradley. Well, I don't think he was the first one to coin that, but
you can give it to him.
He used to say that all the time. They come in bunches. They're contagious for whatever reason. And I don't know what it is about football and turnovers, but they are. We saw it at least four interceptions against Western. for whatever reason, both sides of the ball seem to come in bunches.
That's a Jim Beam smooth play of the game. Jim Beam has bourbon for every palate, whether you want the smooth, classic Kentucky straight bourbon, the tangy new Jim Beam orange, or the new canned cocktails, classic highball or ginger highball. Jim Beam, the world's #1 bourbon. Please drink responsibly. You just bring up Gus Bradley. That's odd because he's coaching with the Indianapolis Colts, and there was some news about them yesterday.
But he's not their head coach.
He is not their head coach. I'm sure you and Chris Hansen went over that quite a bit as Frank Reich relieved of his duties for the Indianapolis Colts, and none other than Jeff Saturday taking over as the interim head coach, former, obviously, center with Peyton Manning, all those great Colts teams. He was an analyst on ESPN literally last weekend he was on like NFL Live for ESPN, has coached in the high school ranks, but never coached in the NFL, never even been an assistant or anything like that, but he will be the interim coach. Your thoughts on that one?
I have too many thoughts. I just had a million thoughts running through my head right there when we bring it up, and I touched on it yesterday. And look, I went from the devil's advocate side, and I'll defend the decision a little bit because they've already tanked on the season, which brings up another point. I don't know why they gave up so early. What was their record? We were just talking, Andy. They beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, they beat the Chiefs.
They literally beat the Chiefs, a team that people think could win the Super Bowl again. They beat the Chiefs. I know Matt Ryan was struggling, but you say Sam Ehlinger is going to start the entire season. Just blanket statement, he's going to start. Well, you also have Nick Foles on the roster. Well, why didn't you give him a chance?
And
who's
Nick
actually
Foles
won a Super Bowl?
Has gotten hot with a team randomly once and won a Super Bowl.
You had two quarterbacks there that have played in Super Bowls. One has won one. You also have two head coaches on the staff, which I knew Gus was there. I forgot John Fox is there as well. So you have two coaches on staff that have been head coaches before. And I heard this today too. Reggie Wayne, I believe, is on staff. He's obviously was a stud in Indianapolis. So if you just wanted to go the player route, you could have gone there. It's weird. It's interesting. So you're saying there's a chance I could be hired now? Because I'm kind of in the same. Now, obviously, I didn't have the career Jeff Saturday had, but I played in the NFL. I'm doing media now.
Chargers legend.
So you're saying, legend. Well, easy with that. Chargers player. So do I have a chance now? Should I? London Fletcher, the longtime linebacker, just tweeted out his resume. Is hey, NFL head, look at this. He has just as good a resume as Jeff Saturday. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Again, from the other side of it, I don't hate it. If you're going to tank on the season, you want a guy to come in and be a leader, and I think he's a motivator. I think he's a great speaker. I think he can do that for you. And I will also say this, people are sounding the alarm. How is he passing up all these qualified candidates? There's so many, and I understand that, but he is the interim. Okay, he has not been hired full time. He's probably going to be there for a year and be done, I would assume, unless the Colts go off and go undefeated for the rest of the season. So let's pump the brakes there. But having said all that, it is still a head scratching move. You grab a guy, and isn't it funny? He was probably a couple weeks ago sending out tweets talking trash on all these teams. Someone posted one talking about how the Raiders look awful. And now he's coaching against them this week.
Oh, that's going to be bulletin board material.
Yeah, there's bulletin board material all over the place.
Mm-hmm. There is an update. So we were wondering who's going to be calling the plays for the Colts.
Yeah, they had fired their offensive coordinator, and Frank Reich was calling the plays.
From Tom Pelissero just a few minutes ago, Colts interim coach Jeff Saturday expected to have 30-year-old pass game specialist / assistant quarterbacks coach Parks Frazier will serve as the offensive play caller starting Sunday against the Raiders.
30-year-old
Frazier.
So they're going with the young offensive whiz kid.
Me.
Yeah, right. It's basically a year older than me.
Dinosaur.
I should start calling plays. It's not the Madden resume for me, but that's crazy too.
Well, and then the other point is I'm surprised Jeff Saturday wanted to do. He said this in his press conference. He was like, I was surprised. Well, yeah.
Well, I bet you were. Yeah,
I'm sure you were. What is his motivation to want to do this? Does he just love the Colts as much? Is Jim Irsay that good of a friend where he's like, yeah, if you want me to do it, I'll do everything I can to help you out? Or does
probably thought Jim Irsay was giving him a call to give him advice on what to do,
right? Because he has been an advisor, I believe, right? For
him and Peyton Manning a lot.
So, but does he want to get into coaching? Because if your end goal is not to be a head coach or be assistant coach, if you want to go back to doing TV, why even do this job? I'm sure he's making plenty of money or decent money doing TV. He made a lot of money as a player. I have a hard time believing this is money motivated. Does he want to be a head coach? Because if you do, why weren't you an assistant already? I can't imagine that if Jeff Saturday is throwing out his resume he's had a number of years now. Like someone wouldn't have hired him to be an offensive line coach or an assistant offensive line coach.
It is going to be weird if he just coaches out this year. They win like a game the rest of the way, and then they hire somebody else, and he just goes back to doing TV. You'll be like, that's just a weird, like, coaching thing. I do get it, kind of, and I agree with you. People are saying, you got all these other you guys on the staff, Gus Bradley, John Fox, and also Reggie Wayne, some other young guys who have bright futures. Why don't you let them be the interim? I think there is something to be said about let's keep everybody else in the roles they're currently doing, so they don't have to do more. Keep them in what they're doing right now, and just bring somebody in. He's not calling the plays. He's going to be calling timeouts. He's got a guy in his ear to tell him when to call the timeouts, probably. He's just going to be there to help establish culture and be like a dude around there that I think the players can relate to. Yep. That's a big thing. Players can relate to a former player, someone who's been there and done that, been in their shoes. And I also think Jim Irsay saw, what's the worst part of our team? The offensive line. Somehow, with all the talent they've got on there, all the picks, they can't block anybody. They couldn't block some college teams, I think, on that offensive line right now. They're getting absolutely destroyed. He gave up 9 sacks in their last game. I think part of it is you bring in a guy that played the offensive line. That's toughened him up a little bit. I don't absolutely hate it, but again, I don't think he's obviously not going to be there long term either.
Right.
So.
I'm right there with you. It's head scratching. It's a little confusing why you would even consider this. I remember seeing it. I was sitting here talking with me and Chris. We're on the show yesterday, and I saw Frank Reich's picture right next to Jeff Saturday, and I couldn't see what the headline was, and I was like, oh, they must just be interviewing Jeff Saturday. He's giving his thoughts. And then like 10 minutes later, I look at the other TV, and oh no, he's actually the coach.
Yep.
He is the head. The dude was on Get Up on ESPN 2 days ago.
He was scheduled to be on ESPN today.
And now he's the head coach.
Yep. Crazy how the NFL works, right?
What if the Colts go on a run and they start winning?
Well, then he'll stay the head coach. If they win a bunch of games, he might stay the head coach. But then he deserves it at that point,
and
right?
At that point, you actually have a resume. At this point, you have no resume. You were a high school head coach. I don't know if he still was, or
I think he was like a barely above 500 high school coach too. Not that really matters, but
no, it doesn't.
Exactly.
But it's, I mean, and
it wouldn't matter if he won a bunch of state championships as a high school coach.
You could play in the NFL. Now, I know he has more connections than I ever did, and he's been in an advisory role, so he's probably seen a little bit of the other side. But like coaching is a whole different animal. You don't know what the coach is always doing when you're a player, and all the decisions that they have to make, and everything going back and forth there. So he virtually has he does have zero experience at that point being a coach. So I hope he's studying all the analytics. I hope he's studying, when do I use a timeout? When do I not use a timeout? At what point in the game can we get into victory formation? I mean, there's a million things that you have to understand as a head coach. I thought there was a good call. I forget which game it was. Maybe it was the Titans-Chiefs, where the Chiefs were going to be able to run down the clock. It was 4th down, end of the half. Chiefs were going to be able to run down the clock, call timeout with 1 second left, and then throw a Hail Mary because it's like, okay, who cares? Well, the Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel, had the knowledge to know, oh, no, I'm going to call a timeout here with 15 seconds left. That way, if they go for the 4th down and don't get it, we get the ball back. Now I'm going to force them to punt it. A little thing, right? I know there's a lot there. It's a little thing, but there's little things as a head coach that unless you've been there, done that, or at least studied it, how are you ever going to know?
And the little things do add up, for sure. By the way, the Insiders today brought to you in part by Men's Hair Company. 5 Fargo, West Fargo, Moorhead locations to choose from. Go with the home team for your haircuts this football season, and you can just choose them. Go online, haircuts, waxing, shaves, beard care, and more. They got it all for you at Men's Hair Co. Go online to menshairco.com to schedule your appointment today. Let's go to the Epic Companies hotline here real quickly. Mark in America giving us a call on something we definitely should have mentioned, and I knew it, and I forgot to mention it because my brain's all over the place.
2 hours of sleep, understandable.
But Mark in America is bringing it up for us. Mark, appreciate you coming on. Quickly, what you got, sir?
Well, if Mike can play the sounder.
What's the sound? What?
It's a breaking news sounder, but we're live on radio. We gotta
pass
the
We're not playing a breaking. It's not breaking news at this point. Cody Malk Senior Bowl, right?
Absolutely. Cody Malk and Hunter Lipke, congratulations to those guys on they were actually the first invites for the Senior Bowl this year. So it's great. It's great that we're going to have 2 guys in there. It just shows how the program has continued to grow and the tradition is there.
Yep, absolutely. Continuing, and Jim Nagy's had a lot of success here with the Reese's Senior Bowl at NDSU, and Fargo, a special place, he says on Twitter. Fargo's a special place. Incredible what Matt Entz and staff have built/sustained. 9 FCS titles in 11 years. honored to invite Cody Malk and Hunter Lipke to the 2023 Senior Bowl. 8 NDSU players in Mobile over the past 7 years, most of any FCS program in the past decade. Thanks, Mark. Giving us a call there, Mark, in America. Pretty impressive. Congratulations to Cody Malk and Hunter Lipke.
Yeah, and not only did they get invited, they got hand-delivered by Jim Nagy. He flew up to Fargo. There was a video put out by NDSU football Twitter account. Hand-deliver them. Obviously, Jim Nagy loves Fargo. He loves this NDSU program. He said it himself. But, yes, a big congratulations and well-deserved to those two young men.
Absolutely. Going to be fun to see them do some work in Mobile. And there's a lot of teams, I think, that could use a player just... I think the league's starting to go to this direction of a player like Hunter Lipke can do everything.
Yeah.
Like 49ers have had a lot of success. Yep. He'd look good in a lot of different uniforms, I think. And
and
he might get drafted.
Well, and then the obvious part of it, and outside of what he could do offensively, is that you need guys like that on special teams.
Yeah.
Regardless of, hopefully he can come in and make an impact right away offensively, because I think he can. We've seen that, but those are the type of guys that no matter what, they're going to find a spot on your roster because they're going to play every single special teams.
Yep. 2 phenomenal players, and congratulations to them on going to the Reese's Senior Bowl. We got to take our last break, come back and finish things up, wrap up the show here for you next on a Tuesday.
This is the Insiders on your exclusive home for North Dakota State Athletics, Bison 1660.
Protect your ag equipment with a Super Slide liner from Horn Plastics. Super Slide is a plastic, non-stick, self-lubricating, and seamless liner that's eliminated haulback. Super Slide is easy to install, available in various grades, widths, and thicknesses. Going on now, you can take advantage of Horn Plastics' year-end install special. Buy one install and get the second free. That's right, buy one, get one free. Save up to $1,000 by booking your install before December 31st. For more information, visit hornplastics.com.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
The Bison Hotline post-game show is broadcasting live this year from Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo. Come see the Bison 1660 crew live after every NDSU football game and register to win prizes including Bison 1660 t-shirts, tickets to upcoming games, and a whole lot more. Plus, take advantage of the great food and drink specials at Applebee's. Bison Hotline broadcasting live after every NDSU football game from Applebee's on 19th Avenue North in Fargo, right across from the Fargo Dome. Horns up.
Need holiday cash fast? Corwin Auto will put a little extra jingle in your pocket this holiday season. Corwin Auto wants to buy your used vehicle and will offer more money than ever to buy it. Bring in your vehicle to any Corwin location and have it appraised. Get an instant offer and walk away with cash on the spot. There has never been a better time to sell your vehicle and get top dollar for it. So let Corwin Auto help stuff your stocking this season. Stop by any of the 4 Corwin Auto locations today.
Brooks in motion right to left, fake the fly sweep, hand off the C-Sport, up the middle, touchdown! Easton Stick!
Bison great and Chargers quarterback Easton Stick joins the Insiders each week to discuss his journey in the NFL and reminisce on some of his favorite moments in a Bison uniform. Our conversations with Easton are brought to you by Red River Commodities, the Spirit Shop, and Men's Hair Company. Each week, Easton Stick on the Insiders here on Bison 1660.
This is Menli from Healing with Hyperbarics, and I want to talk to you today about how hyperbaric oxygen can help you if you've had radiation in the past. Radiation saves lives by killing cancer cells, but the damaging effects of radiation to the tissues continues. This leads to poor blood flow in these tissues, causing a range of problems, depending on which tissues are radiated. If you've had radiation in the past and struggle with any post-radiation injuries, book an appointment with us at Healing with Hyperbarics to see how hyperbaric oxygen can help you heal.
You're listening to your home for NDSU athletics.
Lipke to the 10, cuts it back 5, shot in there, baby!
Bison 1660.
Been a fun show with you inside the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol is a proud partner with Summit Carbon Solutions, helping reduce the carbon footprint by capturing, transporting, and permanently storing CO2 emissions, cutting carbon intensity in half. You can learn more online at theraldsonethanol.com. Vikes.com. Andy and Kyle in here with you. Just about a minute or so left, Kyle. Some news we wanted to get to a little bit more, but your thoughts on some injury news as Josh Allen has a little bit of an issue, possibly a sprain in his elbow, the UCL, basically the Tommy John ligament. Now, it's not as bad for football players as it is for baseball, the way you throw it, but he is now questionable for this week against the Vikings.
Yeah, when I first heard this, my initial thought is the Vikings are going to find a way to win this game. I know that's what you want to hear, Andy, and I'm not just saying that for our audience.
Is still in play, baby.
But it just feels like the Bills are kind of like, yes, they're a very good team. They have a really good roster, but they kind of go as Josh Allen goes, and I know that's kind of stating the obvious because of how good of a player he is. But they don't have a great running game. They're kind of a home run hitting team. They're not like a methodical go down. And if they are, it's because Josh Allen's scrambling around and making just crazy,
ridiculous plays. Their running game
plays.
is Josh Allen running. Honestly,
he's led their team. I believe I heard this stat 5 out of 8 games or something. He's led their team in rushing. So they don't really have a strong running game to lean on. I don't even know who their backup is. Do you guys know who their
Devin
backup is?
Singletary, James Cook, who they drafted.
No,
they have
quarterback.
Naheem Hines. Oh, the backup quarterback? Case Keenum.
Ooh.
Oddly enough.
Revenge game, I guess you could call that. Going back and playing his old team. But
definitely not as mobile as Josh Allen.
No, but it just feels like this could be a game, again, where the Vikings, maybe they get off to a fast start and they kind of struggle a little bit and they find a way to win at the end.
And then no one will give the Vikings any credit for it.
No, because they'll say they beat a Josh Allen-less Buffalo Bills team.
It's like they beat a Tua-less Dolphins team. All
Doesn't
that
matter.
matters is wins, right? And they got 7 of them. And 4.5 game lead, basically a 5-game lead on the division because the Packers couldn't beat the Lions. Make sure I throw that out there, too. Packers lost to the Lions. Huskers are not doing too well either, but I didn't bring that up today.
Why'd you have to bring that up? They're old news,
today.
man.
Yeah.
Old news. We don't need to talk about
White
that.
Sox are doing fine now. There's no bad news now.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fun show today. Big thanks to Brian Sean for coming on. Of course, Easton Stick. Mike Reese, play-by-play voice for Southern Illinois, joins us tomorrow on the program, and a whole bunch more tomorrow, 11 to 1. Right back here with you. It was great to be back in studio. Thanks to Micah Bindi as well, and back with another episode tomorrow of The Insiders.
As the days get shorter and the temps get a little cooler, now is the time to start thinking about projects for Rick Electric in your home this fall. Hey, it's Chris Hansen. Rick Electric has been proudly providing services in the Fargo-Moorhead area since 1964. Right now's a great time to schedule your winter projects, like having a Generac whole house generator with automatic transfer switch installed, or more outlets